Hey, I don't think you could be heard. Hey, I can hear myself, but not you.
Should be good now. Holy. I gotta check that every time, man. I stay fumbling. Uh but as I was saying, the verse of the day is Proverbs chapter 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him and he will make your path straight. Um
I gotta check that every time,
but
man. Stay fumbling.
self-explanatory verse, really. Don't force how's that saying go? Don't force a square peg into a round hole. Don't force your way when God's way is different. Trust in his way. Even if you don't fully understand it or you don't really see the path, um, he sees it and he knows what he's doing. So trust on him and his ways and what he's got planned for you. Um, we all struggle with this. I struggle with it every day. Um, I could be better every single day. So um, that's really just for anybody and everybody, whether it's your first time ever hearing about God or your millionth. So I always try to trust in His way and what He's got planned for you. But with that being said, we're gonna get straight into it. Me and Garrett talked about we're gonna talk a little football. It's been a minute. Talked a lot of basketball. Um, Talked off season stuff. But today I guess we're gonna talk uh some upcoming season stuff. Some way early predictions we talked about. Um, you know, get back in the field because we're about 7 weeks away from week zero, which should just be week one, but uh, we're about 7 weeks away from football. I'm starting to feel the itch. I don't know if you are. I know I am. Especially with the release of college football 27, the game, um, and all of that. So I guess I don't know if you want to talk about, recruiting first, if you want to talk about Auburn and Alabama schedule predictions first, or, how you want to go about it before we get into the deeper stuff.
We could talk about recruiting first because I think that'll probably just kind of be a fairly brief conversation.
Uh, do you want to start off? Because I'm sure to be very brief on your end.
Yeah, Alabama signed a four-star today. They had a wide receiver that they have had signed for a few months. They got brought up to a five-star. Um, Overall, like we look, a lot of people have whatever they want to say about Alabama's recruiting. Kalen DeBoer has said this whole time that it was going to be a small class, so there's no surprise. Alabama has multiple five stars, multiple four stars. Depending on where you look, they have the number one quarterback in the nation. Depending on where you look, they have the number two quarterback in the nation. On top of like the eight five-star quarterbacks that they've signed just in the past couple years under Kalen DeBoer. Um, the notion that Kalen DeBoer can't recruit is hilarious because his first 2 years at Bama, he pulled in two top three classes. And then this year, he has plenty of top end talent. And he's the whole time, remember, the whole time, he's literally said, we are just not going to do a ton. We're going to focus most of our resources in retaining a young roster, um, which I actually think is a really good idea. If you have a young roster that you like, do what you can to keep those guys around instead of going out and getting guys that are unproven. Um, but overall, like a lot of people have a lot to say. I don't have. It's gonna be smaller. Bama, there's still some guys that Alabama's still in the play for. They're gonna get some of them. Um, it's just gonna be a small class. It is what it is. But there's gonna be plenty of talent there. There's gonna be names in that class that you're gonna be hearing on Saturdays, a few years from now. And this is I get you know what the one thing I will say is it is interesting to see how this works because this is kind of the first time in the NIL era we've seen someone do this. Say no, we're purposely not going to go get a bunch of dudes, and we're not going to go get a bunch of dudes in the portal either. We're just going to invest everything into what we have, keeping guys around, keeping guys from going to the draft, yada yada. So I'd be interested to see how it works. Alabama over the past 20 years has been the standard. They've set the standard in college football for a lot of different things. So maybe this works and this becomes something that is more commonly done. Or maybe this completely backfires and he struggles the next couple years and he gets fired because, hey, your recruiting classes suck too. Because he can't go and have a bad year this year with a bad recruiting class, even if it's on purpose. You just can't do that. So he better be confident in what he's going to put out on the field this year, or else he might be in trouble. Um, but overall, like I'm not too disappointed. I think people are making a lot bigger of a deal than it really is. I really just don't think Alabama's pushing too hard for a lot of these guys. I think the guys that they really want, I think they're getting those guys.
Yeah, I'm with you. I know I've jabbed at you about it jokingly. But who would I be as an Auburn fan if I didn't? Um, but seriously, I do believe that there's going to be flips. There's going to be guys down the line that they want that they're going to get. My only concern is there's not a lot of, you know, like linemen. There's not offensive linemen and defensive linemen, and that's my main concern because I understand you're wanting to retain what you got. By all means, go ahead. I have nothing against that. But me personally, just how I feel, and obviously I'm an Auburn fan, so we struggle with this just about every year. If you're not gonna go get a lot of guys, at least get 3, 4 O line and D line. You know, those are that's where it all starts is in the trenches. So that's my main concern. Like you said, there's gonna be guys down the line, and I'm sure that consists of O linemen and D linemen. So if I had a concern there, that's what it would be. But yeah, they're gonna have to put a good product on the field. Um, I do think they are gonna need more commits um, than what they got. They can't. I don't think they can finish 51st in the country and then be a first or second round exit in the playoffs. It's just when you're in the SEC, that's not how it goes. But we'll see. We'll see. Like you said, this is the first time really that this is happened in the NIL era. So we'll see how it works out for Bama. Somebody's got to do it at some point. You can only spend so much money, and it's important where you want that money to go. So it's very obvious that they want roster retention. They believe in the group of guys that they already have. They believe it fits their system and the way that they want to go for the future. So we'll see.
What I will say is, I agree with you on like the getting linemen and stuff. I think part of it is they've signed a couple of linemen. Um, they also have the class that they brought in last year, which was the second overall class, high school recruiting wise, not including the transfer portal, had a ton of offensive linemen in it. So they have a really young group of offensive linemen, incoming freshmen this year. So I think there's some confidence there. Um, Also, if you know one thing about Kalen DeBoer, he's described as like if you're having a conversation with him, even though he's incredibly busy, he'll make you feel like the most important person in the world. Like he's just a really easy person to talk to. He's really good at building relationships. Everybody said that. I know Cole Kubelik has talked about that a lot. Just how like nice of a guy Kalen DeBoer is to talk to. He's really good at building relationships, which works really well in the South. And you see a lot of these commits, their parents, what they talk about, why they wanted their sons to commit to Alabama is just because how good of a relationship building Kalen DeBoer is. Look, at the end of the day, when it comes to National Signing Day, and maybe some teams realize there's some players that they're going to have to pay more on their roster, maybe they're having to pay more to get guys signed, they're going to go sign, and that money that they might have gotten told in the summer may not be there. But you know who was there the whole time? Alabama. So inevitably, there will be guys that you see flip all over the place, not just Bama, but they flip everywhere. It happens every year regardless. But those relationships that Kalen DeBoer's taken time to build, I think will end up paying off, if I had to guess, I would say Alabama will probably jump up in the top 25 in recruiting. Probably not much higher than that, but they'll jump up a good bit, which, considering that Alabama's going for a small class and roster retention, I'll take top 25. Just as long as the players that you get turn out to be good. Like, you need to be able to develop those guys, which I have no doubt in quarterback development. Zero doubt. Few people in the country can develop a quarterback like Kalen Moore can. So we'll see. We'll see. Like we said, first time anybody's really truly trying this, and it's the Alabama head coach. Who would have ever thought? But we'll see. It may work out. It may not. As far as like the recruiting class isn't going to matter if Alabama goes and wins a playoff game this year. If Alabama goes and makes the playoffs this year, as long as they don't get killed like they did last year, nobody can be talking about the recruiting class. As long as it's not outside the top 40, I don't think like it's not going to be a big deal. Um, as long as the product on the field isn't terrible, and if you make the playoffs, the product isn't terrible.
I do think, and this isn't like me trying to rub it in anybody's faces, because Lord knows Auburn has no right to say anything right now. But I do think a lot of that noise comes from Alex Golish getting in Auburn and absolutely blowing it up. Like, he's been on a hot streak the last 2 months, last 3 months of just recruiting and getting guys that he's wanted. And I think that has a lot to do with the noise, um, for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Yo, Anderson, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I haven't heard a single Alabama fan pay attention to Auburn recruiting. I didn't even know they had a top 10 class until I looked. I
Oh,
looked the other day or whatever.
oh,
A lot of Alabama fans are just purposely not looking at recruiting.
well, no. I'm not saying from the Alabama side. I'm just talking about from media in general, because I'm hearing a lot of, which I follow a whole bunch of guys. So maybe it's just, things that I'm hearing and it's not as big of a deal as I think it is. Um, I was just saying I think that might be why there is noise, you know, because Auburn is recruiting their tails off and has this, highly uh ranked class as of right now. Um, and I'm not saying that we're better or anything. I'm just saying I think that is a reason that there is noise around it. For one, that we're not used to Bama, doing this, and then two, Auburn is doing the exact opposite.
I think Alabama, the greatest program in the history of college football, being outside the top 50 in recruiting, Auburn could be 100th in recruiting, and the noise wouldn't be any different. Just truth be told, it's Alabama. It wouldn't matter where Auburn's recruiting at. Maybe if Auburn like jumped up and was like pulling in the number 1 class, but I think it takes a little bit more than that. It's not just Auburn. Truth be told, it's just because it's Alabama.
But I'm saying there's multiple reasons as to why there is this noise, right? So
You're
if
telling me
if
you're telling me there wouldn't
Michigan
be
if Michigan went into Ohio and ranked the number one recruit in Ohio, that was an Ohio State fan, and Michigan got the guy, you're saying nobody would talk about that?
that's still like Alabama and Auburn are in the same state though.
But
Auburn
I'm
doesn't have to go to
saying
Alabama
Auburn
State
has
to get those
gotten
guys.
guys that have grown up as Alabama fans that are in, Bama's backyard, that have committed to this Auburn staff that has no proven track record, nothing to prove. Like, it's a very dysfunctional program here recently, and we're still pulling these guys that grew up to be Bama fans, and I think that's something that is causing noise. I'm not saying it's the main thing. I'm just saying that is a talking point, because
That's
it,
nothing.
because
That's nothing new though.
there has been, battles for these kinds of guys. No, I'm not saying it's nothing new. I'm just saying it is. I think it is a talking point on, why this is a big deal in media.
Uh, I mean maybe, but I mean, I know Alabama and Auburn have stolen each other's guys forever. I mean, LeBaron Fallon grew up an Auburn fan. Now that's basketball, but it happens all the time. We had a man, I forget who it was. Maybe it was like Reggie Ragland or something. Alabama football player, great. During the Saban time, had an Auburn tattoo, had the Auburn logo tattooed on his arm. So they steal each other's guys all the time. They always have. And like I don't know, maybe you see it. I mean, college football in Alabama and Auburn are all over my page, and I don't ever see anything like like that. I just see people making fun of Alabama, but that's college football as a whole, not necessarily like within the state.
I don't know.
I be
I've
seeing
heard it
like
from
I be
certain
seeing like Michigan
places.
State fans talking about it.
I know I've heard it from certain places. I just feel like that would be a talking point. Um, but that's neither here nor there. Um, like I said, Alice Gold has been on a hot trail. Um, they're ranked anywhere from 10 to 12. Whether you look on 3 or 24/7 or ESPN, it just depends on where you look. But they're in the top 15 across all of it. And they got a lot of guys that I think by the end of the year will be 5 stars that are 4 stars right now, or 3 stars that'll be 4 stars by the end of this high school season. Um, and I think when it's all said and done, you're gonna have probably where it is now, top 15 class, and that's really good, especially when you look at the depth of it. You got 26 total commits right now. We're waiting on one more guy that's gonna make his commitment in the coming weeks. Um, from what I've heard, he's supposed to go to Ohio State, but you never know. But 26, 27 commits. I assume some of those will drop out. Flips down the line. I'm sure Alice
Should
Goers
get some flips too.
will find a way to get his own
Yeah.
flips, and it'll probably even out to around the top 15 where it is now. One guy I'm extremely high on is we just got this dude. I think yesterday was his commit. It was either yesterday or 2 days ago. His name's James Branch. He's a 6'4" safety, who just transitioned to safety after playing wide receiver most of his football career, and he's a 3-star safety after his first year of playing safety. So I think that's really good. I think he's going to be really talented. He comes from Maryland. We have a pipeline there with DJ Durkin. They kill it, and I always trust DJ Durkin. And then another guy that I'm high on is Deshaun Hall, a 6'4" wide receiver, a 4-star. He was a basketball player, and this was like his second year playing football, and he's already a 4-star recruit. So I think those are two big recruits. With the size, the frame, and knowing that they don't have a lot of experience in what they've been doing, shows the potential. And I think those are going to be key pieces going forward. And like I said, there's 26 recruits. I could spend the whole podcast talking about every single one of them. I like most of them. And if I don't like them, I probably just don't know a lot about them. So I'm very excited about what we've seen from Alex Goller so far on the Auburn side. Being able to recruit against the top head coaches in the SEC, such as Kirby. We've lost some to Texas, but I think we've stolen some from them too. So, but he's proved that he can, go head to head with some of these guys and really get guys that he wants. Or, we had a situation where we had a running back, and then he decommitted, and then within 24 hours of that guy decommitting, we had another running back commit. So, like, we had his replacement ready. So, I've enjoyed watching it. I've enjoyed seeing it. It's definitely, I don't want to say refreshing, because we saw a lot of recruitment success from Hugh Freeze, but, wins are still wins in my opinion. In the off season, you're not cheering for games, you're cheering for this stuff. So far from what we've seen in Alex Golish's time and what he's, what he can do right now, I am very pleased. So,
Hugh Freeze had a what was he? He pulled in like a top 8 class or something a couple years ago. The one that had Cam Coleman and everything. It was super high,
Let
wasn't it?
me let me look it up.
While you're doing that, um, that running back, he probably decommitted because
Yeah, that
he knew
was
that other guy was gonna commit.
um no, because what I'm from what I heard was he was not one of our guys until that other guy decommitted. Like he wasn't giving us attention and we weren't giving him attention until that guy had decommitted. Um
So the only thing that tells me is they threw him a nice little bag, because in 24 hours to go from not on a guy's radar to the school he's committing to, boy, they threw him a fat
I mean
bag.
they
But I
had
know
conversations, but
that.
I'm saying like
Well,
Auburn
yeah,
thought that they had their guy and they didn't really like look his way no more, and then that guy left and they're like, "Hey, this spot's available now." What are you saying? Which I'm sure they did. I could care less. But yeah,
but
that class was 8.
okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Top 8, but we know when Golish got hired, we heard the reports of how much they were going to give him to spend on a roster, yada yada. We know some Auburn boosters down there that know how to spend their money, don't mind opening up their pockets. Um, so if he has success, they will continue to open up their pockets. He cannot struggle. They will not open up their pockets. The Auburn boosters are great to be your friend, terrible to be your enemy. I feel like that's probably the most true at Auburn over anywhere else. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but Auburn boosters, they're fantastic to have on your side. They are terrible to not have on your side. Um, because they got deep pockets and they spin, but they also like to let their voice be heard. Just ask Brian Harsin how his experience with Auburn boosters went, which self-inflicted, yes. But so we'll see. He's got to put it on the field. He's got to have success, not necessarily this year, but he's got to put it together. Because hey, it's business. You return on investment. If you're gonna invest a lot, you want to see light come into it, or light come out of it. So we'll see. But he's doing a really good job now. Doing a really good job getting good players. Like you said, 10th to 12th class, depending on where you look, whatever. Had a pretty decent portal class coming in. I think he was like 15th or something, depending on where you look, like around that. Um, so we'll see. We'll see how he puts it together. A whole different ball game in the SEC. So, but he's handled it very well so far.
Yeah. I don't this isn't really much to do with recruiting, but one more thing I did want to kind of speak on with the, off-season conversations at Auburn. Um, because Gus Malzahn is on the plains a lot. I don't want him to be my OC, nothing like that, but I'm very happy a guy like Gus Malzahn is around. Alex Golish, I'm glad Alex Golish isn't fighting. He's accepting of a guy like Gus Malzahn with the experience that he's had. Um, I mean, truth be told, best coach since Tommy Tuberville, really. Um, so really happy that he's accepting. He doesn't feel threatened. He doesn't feel worried. I'm glad that Gus feels like he's at home. And I'm sure some point in the future he might be an analytical guy. He's gonna have his hands somewhere. I truly believe, and I think that'll be a good thing.
Yeah, I heard that too. I heard he's pretty well like retired, but he's just kind of just hanging out down there, goofing off, goofing off, goofing off. He's down there helping in whatever capacity. Look, I said I don't know who I said it to. Maybe it was you. I don't know. But that demon that was haunting Jordan Hare, haunting opponents at Jordan Hare. You know, ever since they fired Gus Malzahn, that demon's been against Auburn and Jordan Hare for the most part. Maybe that demon, that little ghost, was best friends with Gus Malzahn and was mad that they fired him. Maybe now that he's back, the demon goes back to being on Auburn's side. Possibly.
Hey,
It's the only real explanation.
if that's what it is, By all means, welcome back, fellow demon ghost. I would call it a guardian angel, but you know, that's just me. That's just me. Welcome it back. That's what I know. But yeah, I'm happy that Gus is around. Um, like I said, I don't think he'll be a huge part of anything, but definitely giving some pointers if I had to assume.
Yeah, well, I mean, he went like 9-3 in his last year and got fired.
No, he went at 7 and
Auburn
5
hasn't.
in his
Oh, he went.
last year.
It was the year before. It was the year before he went 9-3. That's right. Yeah, 7-5, and since then Auburn has lost 7 games every single year. So that was a real smart decision. Um, but
Hey,
maybe they're gonna
I
course correct. Maybe they're gonna course correct. You've you shared your thoughts on that, but
I've made it very clear. I thought the Gus bus, it ran its course. It had reached the end of the road. Um, I just think that they botched the hire, and one bad hire, Brian Harson, gets you all of this. I don't think firing Gus was a
yeah,
problem. I think hiring Brian Harson was. Um,
yeah,
but look, you saw how Brian Harson reacted to getting fired because of what he did. Gus Malzahn didn't say a word. He left in peace. There was no bad
yeah.
blood. Um, that's what says a lot to me. Gus Malzahn never uttered a bad word about Auburn. And here he is wearing his Auburn gear again in Auburn. You know, being around, helping out. And I think that says a lot about his character, who he is, as a person and as a football coach. So
Yeah. We'll see if he actually takes on an official role or not, or if he continues just to almost being like the Nick Saban role. You know, technically Nick Saban is on staff at Alabama still, but and he does stuff, but he doesn't really do a whole lot. He mostly just makes phone calls to boosters and whatnot. That's pretty much it.
it'll probably be. Well, I think it would be more if Gus were to get something like that. It would be more of an analytical thing. Um,
Yeah.
because Gus's game planning, he's good at that. It's just through the flow of a game when somebody adjusts, he's not good at adjusting back. Um,
Fair enough.
but with that being said, I guess we can get into schedule predictions now that we're a bit closer to time. We both know a little bit more about our teams, what the rosters are going to look like, who's going to be the starters, um, you know, and the potential of what this team could be. So I guess we can get on into that. I don't know if you want to do Auburn's roster first or Alabama's roster. I mean schedule.
We could do either one.
Um, I'm gonna say start with Bama just because I want to get the worst out of the way. But if you want to
The
do,
worst out of the way.
yeah,
The
yeah,
worst out of the way. The worst. The worst. If you say so, we'll get the best out of the way.
uh, they open up the year at East Carolina. Then, uh, hold on, because I don't know if
And they go. I got the schedule right here.
they go to Kentucky.
Right.
Okay, so they start at East Carolina. We don't even got to talk about that.
No.
Then they go to Kentucky. Once again, I don't really think we need to talk about that.
Too early in that Will Stein era to worry about them.
Um, which I think Will Stein will, do something at Kentucky. Um, maybe 7 wins a year. That'll be good for Kentucky. They'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
Then they host Florida State. That people are going to talk about it. I think me and you,
It ain't happening again.
nah,
That was a
not in,
one time. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, that's just not happening.
not on Nick Saban field, as we're calling it
that
now.
game might be that game might be a bloodbath. I'm not gonna lie. That one might be a beatdown because there's gonna be some pissed off Bama
Oh
players by
yeah,
that one.
it's not going to
That's
be
gonna be a
pretty. If you're a Florida State fan, just don't go. I promise you don't want
and
to go.
Florida State fans are Florida State just as a whole is gonna be dead. They're gonna be the Walking Dead this year because they know They know it's about to be some serious change, but that's a topic for another day.
Um, then they host South Carolina.
First
I
losable game, I'd say, but
I think South Carolina has a better year than what they did last year. They had a terrible offensive line. Um, you have to think there's going to be some improvements with, Beamer kind of not being on the hot seat, but being on the hot seat. It's getting a little warm.
yeah.
It's getting pretty warm. There was some chitter chatter at
Can't,
the end of last
yeah.
year. So you don't want it to get
Can't have
too
a
hot.
terrible year. Yeah.
Like you said, first losable game. If I had to put money on it right now, I would take Bama.
That's a tape ammo.
But you know, then they
I mean, you
go.
have possibly one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. It's always going to be a losable game.
Yeah, I agree. Um, Especially if they can block for Lenora Sellers.
Right. Yeah. And you have the best defensive player in the SEC, too. Dylan Stewart. That dude's a dog. He's up there.
He's definitely in the
That or Colin
conversation. I'm trying to.
Simmons. Yeah.
Ooh, Colin Simmons. I would probably say
Colin
Dylan
Simmons out of
Stewart.
Texas.
I would probably
But
say
they're right
Dylan
there.
Stewart.
Like, you couldn't go wrong with either one.
And then you go to Mississippi State. I think this is a more losable game than the South Carolina game. I think a lot of people are doubting Mississippi State right now. I really like their quarterback Kamari. I think he's going to have a good year. I thought they had a solid portal. They got potential. They were a young team last year. Didn't look too good, but that's why they were. That's why you got all the young guys out there and let them experience. So this year, when it comes around, they're ready to fight.
Well, like half of their losses last year were one possession. Impressive. And this is one of those just get you spots. Like Missouri last year, like Vandy the year before. You're kind of looking ahead because the next week's the Georgia game.
Mm-hmm.
This could be a spot that really gets you. So they gotta be ready to go play Mississippi State. They're not gonna be easy.
I'm gonna take Bama, but I think this is a game to watch. I agree. This is one of those games that if you're looking too far ahead at Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M, LSU, then you could very well get bit by a bulldog. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Them cowbells
Very
get
much
loud
so.
real quick.
Yeah.
But then you host Georgia. It's a great game every year. Georgia couldn't beat Bama last year at Georgia. I'm not taking Georgia to beat them at Bama. This is a. I don't care what happens at Mississippi State. They could lose by 50. Bama's gonna come out at their A day. They're gonna come out guns blazing, throwing haymakers. They're ready for Georgia every year. Georgia just can't beat Bama. It just is been what it's been. I took Georgia last year, I believe. I'm not filing for it. It's gonna be a Bama win.
I kind of want you to pick Georgia. So,
hey, who knows? Gunnar Stockton, could have his Heisman year. Highly doubt it. I think he's overrated. But we'll see.
He's tough.
He's tough. He is a dog. He's a dog. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's just hard to know who's actually good in that
Smart.
Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is
Kirby Smart dude.
He's the Georgia quarterback right there. Then you go to old Rocky Top. I hate to say it. Heupel is on the hot seat right now, so I have no faith in them beating Bama. I hate to say it for Tennessee fans.
That team is so young. They just got a new defensive coordinator, Jim Knowles from Penn State. His defenses notoriously take a couple years to get situated. Mm-hmm. The guys that he brought over from Penn State to hopefully speed up that process, the main guy who was supposed to be the best player on that defense is no longer with the team.
He's not there.
It's just gonna be. It could be a rough year. I think there's a lot of motivation. Like I seriously think, just kind of what I've heard from DeBoer talking. Like I think they know, like that team wants to go beat Tennessee at Tennessee so bad, because that's kind of been a real talking point. Like, yeah, whatever, you won 15 straight, but you can't beat us in Knoxville anymore. I think this team really wants to go to Knoxville and punch them in their mouth. I seriously believe that. So
it's gonna be a rough year, like you said. New DC, the leader of that defense is not on the team anymore, and they're running out there with a first-year quarterback. It's gonna get ugly for Tennessee really quickly.
Yeah, the first year quarterback thing, like one of them's going to be it's either a freshman or like a redshirt freshman, somebody who was there last year but was kind of hurt, didn't play. There's two different types of quarterback battles. There's one where you're waiting for someone to prove that they are the guy, which is I think the Tennessee, which means you're not confident in both of them right now. You're waiting for one of them to give you confidence. Or there's one like Alabama, where both of them give you confidence, and you're just waiting to see who proves themselves to be elite.
I agree.
Um, and I'm not trying to diss Tennessee. I know I make fun of Tennessee, but like that's a serious, and one
No,
of them
I
very well
agree.
could be elite, and especially Tennessee's offense, Josh Heupel's offense. But it's gonna be a rebuilding year for Tennessee. Just don't. What I would say to Josh Heupel, just don't look terrible. Don't lose to anybody you're not supposed to lose to. That way you can keep it rolling to the next year without falling apart. Because there are some Tennessee fans that are unhappy, which is crazy because you sucked before he got there. So
Yeah, I think they'd be foolish to fire him right now. It's just rough. They went to the playoffs 2 years ago. Um, Obviously they got whooped by the national championship. I mean by the national champions. By the best team in college football that year. Um, had a funky year last year, and then now it's like a clean slate of a roster. Um,
to rebuild.
it
Yeah.
it happens. It's part of
Yeah.
football. Um,
You're Tennessee. You're not Ohio State. You're not Alabama. You're not
right.
Texas. You don't get to just be good every year. You're gonna have to rebuild and stock up for years and stuff. Like, you know,
Now here is a game where I think Alabama loses their first game. Um, it's at Alabama, but I'm really high on this Texas A&M team. They have a decent amount of returners. They have who I think is in the Heisman running for sure, Marcel Reed. You have Mario Craver, their wide receiver one from last year. He's returning. Um, I just think I'm very high on Texas A&M, a lot higher than most. And I think this is a scary position for Alabama, coming off of two big rivalries. Then you have another one the week after. Well, not the week after because you go into a bye week, but the next game is another rivalry. Um, so this Texas A&M game, I'm not gonna say it's like one of those where you overlook them because I don't think Alabama will do that. I just think Texas A&M is gonna be there to prove a point. I think they're that good, and I would probably take Texas A&M right now.
you think kind of like the Oklahoma game last year, where you know they're good, you know they can beat you, but you're tired, you're exhausted, and maybe you just make a few mistakes, miss a few field goals, yada yada. I 100% agree. What I'm looking at is, do I fully trust that Marcel Reed is not going to have his Marcel Reed moments? Um, like the moments we saw in the first half versus South Carolina, like the moments we saw versus Texas, like the moments we saw versus Miami, where he just played pitiful. Alabama's defense, specifically their secondary, is probably the best in the SEC. Their defense is supposed to be one of the best in the entire country. Their turnover margin was top 5 in the country last year. That's only expected to be better. They've been talking all offseason about being a dominant defense, not just being really good, being dominant, being the game changers. Um, I just think Alabama's defense can bring that out of Marcel Reed, especially on the road. Bryant Denny Stadium. Either Alabama is undefeated at this point, and they're like a top 3 team in the nation because you beat Georgia, you beat Tennessee on the road. Game day might be in town for this game, like so. Bryant Denny Stadium's gonna be rocking, or Alabama's playing with their backs against the walls, and the season is on the line in this game. So I think either way, like A&M's gonna get a very tough Alabama team that's gonna have a lot, gonna want to prove a lot, prove that they the best team in the nation, or B deserve to be in the playoff picture still. Um, so the only thing I'm questioning consistency from Marcel Reed. They say it's improved over the offseason. I need to see it because he played really good last year, but he had his moments. Even like the games he played good, like the Texas A&M game, the Texas A&M versus Notre Dame game. We talked about how good he played. He still threw under 50% completion percentage. He just was airing that junk out and connected on a few of them, and that's how they won. Credit to him. That's good, but inconsistent still. Can he be more consistent? I think if anybody can bring out the inconsistencies of Marcel Reed this year, it's going to be Alabama playing inside Ryan Denny Stadium.
Yeah. Like you made some good points there. I really do think it all depends on if Marcel Reed is more consistent this year. And that's why I'm
Right.
taking Texas A&M, because I'm betting that he will be. I'm betting that he does progress the right way and he does take that next step, and he is going to be, one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. But if he's not, and he's the same Marcel Reed as this past year, those inconsistencies are definitely going to show up against Bama and Bryant Denny. So it really does lie in the hands of Marcel Reed. Um,
Yeah.
but out of all the games on the schedule, um, I think this is the most losable one. And I don't think Bama will go perfect. So I, I
It's
just,
so hard to go perfect.
I'm
It's
just
not
gonna
gonna
go
happen.
ahead and predict the Texas A&M is the one.
Yeah.
Then you
Fair
got your
enough.
bye week, um, and you go to LSU, correct?
Correct.
You go to Baton Rouge, play Lane Kiffin.
Brian. Hey, it's Brian Denny West. Say it how it is. Brian Denny West. That's what they call it.
Hey,
That's what they call it.
well,
Yeah.
if that's what they call it and that's the trend, I unfortunately will be saying that trend is going to continue. A lot of people are high on LSU. I love Sam Levitt. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. I think he's going to be probably one of the top 6 quarterbacks in the SEC this year, unless he gets hurt. Um, I just think that the ceiling for that team, the LSU team, is 8-4, 9-3. Um, I just they retained their defensive coordinator. They had a tremendous defense last year. I just have my worries about Sam Levitt and his, health. I
Yeah.
he struggled to be consistently healthy. Um, when he gained his most hype at ASU, um, he was riding the back of Cam Scatterbo.
He was,
Let's be
yes.
real here. Cam ran for
Jordan Tyson,
17,
like they had some
1,800
dudes.
yards. And then the
Hmm.
next year, he gets hurt, which he was having a pretty solid season, but there were still some inconsistencies and turnover problems in his game. And then you get hurt, and now you go to the SEC. And there was a time where LSU didn't even, know if they wanted the kid because of the injuries. He almost committed to Tennessee. Um, from a lot of the talks that I heard. I don't know if you heard any of
Yeah.
that, but he almost committed to
No, he did.
Tennessee because of his health, and his injuries. But LSU ultimately threw the bag and said, "Yep, we're going to take you. No other options out in the portal. Come be our quarterback." Now, if he can be healthy, I think they can go. They can probably go 10-2. I'd have to go look at their schedule. They could potentially be a playoff team, but I just worry about his health. Um, But if he stays healthy in a Lane Kiffin offense, he's going to be dangerous. Um, I just I struggle with thinking he's going to be that healthy. And he's going to be. I think he'll be like John Mateer last year. John Mateer came out killing it. He was a fantastic quarterback last year. Got hurt against Auburn, and he didn't look the same the rest of the year. When he denied all season, but this off season he said, "Yeah, I was hurt, just plain and simple."
Yeah.
And I think it'll be a similar situation. And same with Ty Simpson not a few years back, last year. Uh, Started really hot. For half the season, he looked like a Heisman candidate, potentially a Heisman winner. And then he gets banged up. Then he has back problems, or so we heard. And he never looked the same. What, after the South Carolina game, you would say, around the
Yeah.
South
It's
Carolina
the South
game.
Carolina game. That's when
So
he got hurt. Yeah.
So I could very well see something similar for Sam Levitt, to where, yes, he'll look good, he'll look dominant, but you keep getting banged up, and it's just going to be hard to keep looking like that guy.
Yeah. This is where I have Alabama losing, just cause look, Kalen DeBoer's perfect after a bye. Fun fact, since he's been at Bama. And it usually always comes before the Georgia game and the LSU game since Kalen DeBoer's been there. So 2 tough games. You remember his first trip into Baton Rouge, game day was there, and it poured, and Alabama went in there and ran over LSU, like literally killed LSU.
Was that
Um,
the Jalen Milroe game where he had like 200 rushing yards and he scored like 40
yes,
something points?
yeah, yeah. Alabama won by about 40. I think it was like 40 something to single digits. They killed
I
them.
think it
It
was
was
like
bad. It was
48 to
embarrassing.
7. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
it
I
was
was at a
a
hockey game.
it was a yeah, it was a whooping. But this is just because I can't pick him to go perfect. I gotta find a loss or two in there, and this is just where I'm doing it. It just makes sense, mainly because, and we'll see how much we talk about LSU, but I think LSU's gonna have back against the wall kind of mentality, knowing they gotta get this win. You cannot lose to Bama if you still want to. At this point in the season, you can't lose to Bama if you still want to be in playoff contention. Also, I think Lane Kiffin is fiending to finally be able to beat Alabama. I seriously think that keeps him up at night. He wants to beat Bama so bad. He wishes he could have beat Nick Saban. I still think he has nightmares that he never got to beat Nick Saban. Fair, honestly, but he really wants to beat Bama, and I think this is just one of those spots. Like if I'm gonna pick it to happen somewhere, I'm gonna pick it here. Um, just because like Lane Kiffin and that offense is gonna be good. Even if Sam Levitt is banged up, or if even if Sam Levitt's hurt and it's somebody else, it's just Lane Kiffin, Charlie Wiles. They're gonna put a good product out there. Um, but I'm a little lower on LSU just because there's so many moving pieces coming in at one time and a lot of distractions and a really tough schedule. All that combines for what will be a relatively disappointing season compared to preseason expectations, which is playoffs. Um, but yeah, this is where I have Bama losing. Kind of a wake up call to get them refocused for the rest of the season because got a couple more big games.
So similar logic to why I picked Texas A&M to win.
Okay.
And then you go to Vandy, um, first year quarterback, no more Pavia. We'll find out a lot about Vandy this year and Clark
Yeah.
Lee. So I'm semi excited to see that. But still, you're gonna have a first year quarterback, a true freshman, in the SEC. It usually never is like an amazing hit. It's not a home run. So I'm gonna pick Alabama to win. I don't know if you have any notes on that game.
Yeah, first year quarterback. You know, never really works in the SEC unless your name is Jalen Hurts. He had a phenomenal freshman year. Now that team was really good. That helped him out a lot. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Bama. First year quarterback. Barbecue chicken alert. Defense is gonna be fiending to get their hands on him. All right. Also, there will undoubtedly be talks about the last time Bama went to Vandy, and that's just gonna get quite annoying for the players. And so I think there's gonna be kind of a bit of a point proven, like, hey, yeah, no more. That little kryptonite that y'all had, yeah, he's gone. He's gone. It's over. You're still Vandy. You're better than what you were, but Vandy is no longer the worst program in the SEC. They have a really good head coach, but lightning's not striking twice. Not, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not very high on Vandy this year. I think at best they'll be a 6-6, 7-5 team. Not because they're
Yeah,
bad, just because it's a whole new. It's essentially a whole new offensive system.
it,
That
it's a
offensive,
it's a rebuilding year.
the
Yeah,
offensive system was made specifically for Diego Pavia.
for Diego.
Now you have a true freshman quarterback that you don't know how he's going to translate. You don't know what he's going to prefer. You have to get him comfortable in this situation. So it'll just be a rough year.
Probably.
Then you host Chattanooga. We don't got to talk about it. Um, then you host Auburn. I'm just gonna say Auburn. I'm not gonna give a reason. I
Fair
just
enough. I wouldn't expect anything different. But I mean, like obviously I'm gonna go Alabama. I'm not gonna talk too much on it. We will brag back and forth and talk crap from now until week 13.
yeah.
So we'll have plenty of time to get into that. Who knows what these teams are look like? Is Auburn fighting for every bit of dignity, or is Alabama fighting? Is Kalen DeBoer fighting to keep his job at Bama? I don't know. We'll see. Or is Alabama fighting to make the SEC championship game? Which, truth be told, like might seriously be the case. This might be another. It was last year one of those games. Hey, if Alabama with a win, Alabama's in the SEC championship game. With a loss, they're out. We'll see. I know I'm a lot more comfortable that it's in Bryant Denny Stadium. Also, we know Auburn loves the number 7. Like, was it 4 straight years, 7 losses? This would be the 7th year in a row Alabama's won. I'm just saying, 7 is allegedly, right? They say 7's the Lord's number. Kind of sounds like it just really makes sense for Alabama to go ahead and go win. So, oh man, not on Saban Field. How dare you go and win on Saban Field? It's not happening.
Which last time it's been done was Cam Newton. So
Cam Newton.
it's
I mean,
going to be
what
a
can you
tall
do?
task, regardless. Even if we were
The
the
day's
best team
coming.
in the nation, it's a tall
The
task.
day's coming, but it's hard to go in and win
It is.
on the road in the SEC. Period, but especially Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Uh, but yeah, in my situation, I have them going 10-2. Um, sounds like you have them going 11-1, which I think is both very
Wait, where's your
possible.
second? Where's your second loss?
Auburn. That's it.
Oh, duh. Yeah, I have them 11-1. Look, I will say though, if it is not a night game, the Iron Bowl, I'm gonna be very disappointed because what are we doing? We played that game at 2:30 every year for years and years, and then the one loss where it's like, ooh, if Alabama loses, their coach is gonna get fired, yada yada yada. Oh, let's make it a night game in Jordan Hare. No. Make it at night this year in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Let's give them the same treatment. Y'all don't want to play in the Iron Bowl under the lights in Bryant-Denny. I
Me
promise you.
preferably, I would rather have the Iron Bowl always be a night game.
I'm okay with it. I don't care. I don't care when it is. Just you can play
Oh,
it in
I
a dark
care.
alley. Which, yeah,
If I
I don't
had to
care when they play
be,
it.
if I had to be a Michigan Ohio State fan watching my biggest rivalry at 11 a.m., I'd be upset because now I have to go the
I kind of
entire
like.
rest of the day.
Nah, I kind of like that. I kind of like that because like they do it every year. It's kind of the tradition. You open up rivalry week like the Saturday with Ohio State, Michigan. What a good way to start the day. It's a good way to start the day. I wouldn't. Now I will say I would never want the Iron Bowl played at 11 a.m. But they could play it at 2:30, 3:30, 4:30, 6:30, 7:30. I don't care when they play it. Just know that game we gonna be bad at it. We gonna be ready.
Oh yeah. I don't think that's a problem at all. I don't
Yeah.
think that's the issue. I just think it would be
No.
more fun and electric at night. But then, like you said, you think about the tradition and how it's always at about 2:30, 3:30, and
Yeah.
you start thinking about looking outside, the leaves are falling, brown leaves.
Hmm.
You eating a pizza or some turkey or some ham
Or
or
the yeah 2 weeks
chicken.
that we get. Yeah. Well, every year, because the Iron Bowl always falls the week after the Saturday after
Yeah.
Thanksgiving. I know in the next couple years they're going to move up this season, so it's going to start falling the week before Thanksgiving. So I don't know if that's going to be more deadly or less deadly, because I know you hear stories all the time. Households in the state of Alabama, people be getting shot talking about the Iron Bowl that's coming in the next couple days. Could you only imagine if now they're talking crap because their team just won? Might
Well, look,
might be dead.
now they know not to show up. They know just not to go
Fair
to the
enough.
to the
True.
function at all.
True. That's a good point. We're gonna about to have a lot of split families in the
Which
state
I'd
of
prefer
Alabama.
it. I'd prefer it after Thanksgiving because I can't back out of family functions. So
Yeah, I like it being after Thanksgiving, but for the whole point of the season, like for all the other benefits,
yeah,
like I wish college football season did start earlier. But like I like playing it right after Thanksgiving. But
we could
either
just
way, I
start
don't care.
earlier and add like 2 extra weeks of college football.
That would defeat the purpose. We'd have to no 2 extra weeks of college football, and now we're gonna do an 82 team playoff.
Yeah.
Congratulations. The
Oh
season
man.
ends. We're playing the Final Four in the college football championship in the same weekend.
July championship.
Oh my gosh, you are not ready for July in Bryant-Denny Stadium. That's what they're
I
gonna
don't
say.
think Bama's ready
It's
for
gonna be
July
100
in Bryant Denny
degrees.
Stadium.
Nobody is.
Oh man.
Nah.
No, they go through enough. They go through enough. There's enough games, especially with the extra week of SEC play. They got it. They thought it
Yeah,
was
I'm not
tough
gonna lie. The
before.
SEC got punked into doing that junk.
I don't mind it. I just
I
think
don't care, but
it
they're using it
takes.
as an excuse to expand the playoffs. I don't really like that.
I don't either. But it does take away from the amount of SEC teams that you're going to get in. And I'm glad that you mentioned this because I've had a thought that I was going to bring up, but I totally forgot about it until you said this. Adding another conference game shouldn't make it right or be an excuse as to why a 9-3 SEC school is in the playoffs. If you lose 3 games, you simply should not be in the playoffs. That's my opinion. I know people aren't going to agree with that, but if you lose 3 games and what is it now? A 16-team playoff? Or am I
Still 12.
still 12? I thought I'm delusional. I thought that they had changed that too. No, they're talking about it, is what it is, I believe.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But if you can't make it into a 12-team playoff, then you just don't deserve to be there. It is what it is. You lose 3 games, you don't deserve to be there because there was times if you even lost 1 game, you're not going to the championship game. Your hopes are just ruined. If you lose 1 game, it's all over. So
Florida State didn't lose a single game and didn't make the college football playoff just a couple years ago. Now, if you lose 1 game, you're gonna have a first round bye.
hey, I could one up and
Yeah.
say Auburn was undefeated SEC champs and didn't even get a chance to play in the BCS national championship game. But
Nah, it used to be
yeah.
very flawed. Used to be very flawed.
So if you lose 3 games, it's just my opinion. You don't deserve to go. I don't care who you play.
Wait, which was that? Which one out of the 80 claimed national championships on that one random day in August was that?
Yeah, we claim
Was that?
9. We claim 9. Bama claims more than us, by the way. I just want you to know that.
That's not true. That's
It
not
is
true.
it's true.
Mm-mm.
They have claimed
How many?
worst ones as well.
You said more though. Alabama only has 3 championships that they claim that the NCAA does not recognize. Auburn has 7,
I
double, and then 1.
I just want to fact check.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to know which ones.
Pretty much all in the 40s were the ones that Bama claims. Pretty much. I think there's another one that in there that's controversial, but pretty much all in the 40s. Frank Thomas Days, maybe that might have been his name. He has a statue outside of Bryant Denny Stadium for championships that the NCAA doesn't even recognize. Fun fact.
Nah, I'm not gonna look over. I believe it's more than 3. I don't know.
Well,
I'm not gonna
the
go deep diving.
college football 27, they have the team's history and everything.
Mm-hmm.
They go off of what the NCAA says, and the game says Alabama has 15. Alabama claims 18. What I will say, the difference between, say, Alabama claiming 3 and the Auburn's one that are claimed is Alabama, they claimed it in the time. They claimed it then. They said, nah, we buying rings right now, and they stuck with it. They didn't wait no 40 years to say, you know what? We think we won a championship then. So nobody stopped them then.
Hey,
Who cares now? If you didn't stop them then, which also like Notre Dame has the same thing, Michigan has the same thing. Like all these teams that were really good back in the early 1900s, mid 1900s, there were like 3, 4 teams every year claiming the national championship. So
oh
it is
yeah,
what it is.
there's teams that didn't even play like I guess what we would count as a Power 5 school now that didn't even play any competition that claimed national championships. I think it's all dumb. I think it's dumb that Auburn did it. I could care less.
Who cares?
Um,
I think everybody pretty well knows like the pecking order of like college football programs and like what have they really won, yada yada yada.
anyways, it's time to predict the better teams schedule.
You keep saying that, and that's maybe you believe it. Maybe you're just saying that. I don't know.
I believe
The
it, bro.
world may never know.
I believe
You
it.
don't have to admit it. You don't have to. You don't have to clarify.
I,
We'll let the people wonder.
you can hook me up to a lie detector test. I pass. Flying colors.
Yeah, flying orange and blue colors, dude.
You're right. You're right. Orange and blue, all over that paper. Um, week 1, home game in quotations,
basically. Yeah.
neutral ground
And
in Atlanta. Um, I think it's good for the young team. You know, you're technically preparing for an away game, but you go against Baylor in Atlanta. It'll technically be a home game. I don't care what anybody else says. I got Auburn. They couldn't beat a Hugh Freeze team that didn't even throw the ball more than what, I don't remember, but I don't think it was more than 15 times, right off the top of my head.
Jackson Arnold was just running that thing last year.
Yeah, and then
He
they
had
just
like
never
200.
gave him an opportunity to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny.
Um, that speaks a lot about our head coach at that time. But Baylor couldn't stop us when we didn't even throw it. Um, with a team last year, I think, when it comes to running wise, I think we're a better running team this year than we were last year. So I'm just gonna go with Auburn. I don't know if you have any notes on it. I don't think there's really much to talk about on my end.
Simply put, I think the game last year is irrelevant. Just because Baylor is I don't know if they have. Let me look. I don't know if they have like any returning starters. I'm being so serious. This team
I don't
basically
none that are
got turned
notable.
inside out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I think they're a worse team than they are last year.
can't
Um,
find it.
and they got
They look. I don't. Well, you brought in DJ Lagway. You know, they've talked that he's actually tried to be more part of a team, and that was his big problem at Florida. Nobody can deny his arm talent. He has incredible arm strength, probably the best arm strength, pure arm strength in the nation. Um, Baylor brought in a ton of new pieces. Look, if those pieces work, watch out. If those pieces don't work, watch out. Either way, like this could go really bad or really good. Dave Aranda's on a hot seat. He would have gotten fired last year, but his athletic director got fired, so nobody was there to fire him. So he kind of has this year to right the course. It's not been without effort. They've overhauled the roster. They brought in DJ Lagway. The offense coordinator's still there, which is a really good offensive coordinator.
yes,
Like had the number one passing attack last year, just purely by yards. Um, week 1 with a lot of new pieces on both sides because Auburn is basically an overhauled roster too, at least offensively, and coaching staff wise, offensively. Um, I tend to trust the defense, so it's why I have Auburn winning, just because, and the defense and the run game, and that's two areas that you would expect Auburn to be better in. Where I would get concerned if I was an Auburn fan would be if Baylor can sling the rock and start scoring, because no matter what you say, like there's going to be growing pains on offense for Auburn. Like I don't expect Auburn to go out and score 40 against Baylor week 1. I don't think they're going to have to, but what if Baylor goes out and scores 40? I don't think they will, but what if they do? That's just where I could see Baylor having a possibility of winning. But that's once again week 1, a lot of new. Tend to trust the defense in the running games. I trust Auburn's a little bit more, a lot of bit more actually. Um, I believe Auburn's favored by a touchdown. I think that's too high. I think Baylor covers. If the game was played right now, I don't think Auburn wins by more than a touchdown. I think they win, but not by more than a touchdown. That's line's a little too steep in my opinion. But we'll see. It's a losable game. I don't think some Auburn fans are taking it as seriously as they should. You're included, but I do still think Auburn wins.
yeah. I I'm not even betting an eye at Baylor, to be completely honest with you. I think they're every which way worse than they were last year. I think our defense is better than it was last year. And my thing is, look, if Sawyer Robertson can go in there and throw for 400 yards, they lose their wide receiver one, they lose Sawyer Robertson, and they lose their tight end one who had a tremendous game against us.
He was
Um,
man, he was good.
it just
Michael Trigg,
Yeah, I love Michael Trigg. I think he's an amazing
he was a
vertical threat
beast.
tight end. Um,
Yeah.
but you lose those three guys, and your running back one, to Auburn. He's at Auburn. So you lose those 3 to 4 guys, and That was essentially their whole offense, and they didn't really put up a huge fight. Like, it was a close game until about halfway through the third quarter. Then Auburn started to pull away, um, and I just think if you lose all of that offensive production, and then Auburn loses their incompetent head coach, I just don't see a world where it's any closer. Um, but that's just me. I personally just think that there's too much of a gap. Um, that could surprise me, uh, but that's just where I sit.
Yeah. I, DJ Lagway's the X factor. Does he show what we've seen at times, and does it click immediately, or does it just not? If it just doesn't, like, Baylor's not going to win. Simply put, if it does, then they have a real shot. But uh, I, like I said, tend to not trust that come week one.
And let's not, like, I love DJ Lagway. I think he's super talented. I think he'll get it figured out. I think he'll go on to play in the NFL, whether that's as a starter or a backup. I don't know yet. Um, but he just left Florida because he didn't get enough free reigns on offense. They had a terrible O line, um, and they faced an SEC defense every week. So what are they going to do when what's he going to do when he comes to Baylor? And week one he has to play arguably one of the best
SEC
defenses in the SEC. A D line that's going to get after him. Mobile middle linebackers. I have questions about our corner room. I think they'll figure it out. I think there's great potential. I think they just got to mesh together. But that's always the question with the DJ Durkin defense. It has been for ever since he's got here, and he finds a way to make it work. This is the best linebacker room we've had. I think we have equal to the same talent as we have had in the past on the edge. And the safeties are going to be good this year. So he struggles. He struggled week in, week out last year against those SEC defenses with interceptions and turnovers. And then week one, he's got to face arguably one of the best defenses in the SEC. I just don't have much faith in what will happen, and the fact that Dave Aranda is on the hot seat.
Yeah, either that's gonna go to hurt him because the whole notion of being on the hot seat, or maybe it'll explode him. I mean, his first year they won like 9 or 10 games and won the conference or whatever. That was back when Oklahoma and Texas were still in there, and ever since then it's just progressively gotten worse. Does he right the ship? Made a lot of changes. It's not going to be without trying, but the schedule's tough and it starts off tough. So I would not bet on Baylor riding that ship. I think Dave Aranda probably gets fired this year. Truth be told,
I'm with you. I don't think. Look, you're a defensive coach. I haven't seen anything from you defensively that proves to me you deserve to be
the offense.
that you need to be a head coach anywhere.
The offense has been the thing keeping his job.
No, for
Goodness.
sure. Then Auburn hosts Southern Miss. Don't need to talk about it. Then they host Florida. I think this is a very over talked about game. I think Florida has more questions than Auburn does right now. I think they have more moving pieces. They have less knowledge about what they're going into. I like John Summerall. I think he'll be a fantastic coach. I just think it'll be a rough year one for him. And coming to Auburn does not help his case. It'll be a night game. I'm taking Auburn. That's just me. I don't know if you.
I'm taking Florida. I think the complete opposite. I think Auburn has way more questions than Florida. Florida, the infrastructure was there. Nobody was doubting what Billy Napier was bringing in, players wise, coaches wise, infrastructure wise, recruiting wise, all the stuff. He had it all right. They just could never put it together. Auburn is experiencing a lot of change, mainly offensive personnel. Um, I know, like, Golish, like the whole culture and everything. This is gonna be a culture game. This is gonna really establish, like, going forward, the G5 coaches who establishes their culture faster. John Summerall, I think John Summerall's really just that good. I think the systems that were already in place and what he brought in, bringing in the Georgia Tech offensive coordinator, bringing Eric Singleton back into that system, um, Eric Singleton was gonna be like their wideout three. Um, I think whoever they have at quarterback is going to be serviceable enough. I think that defense could be rocking. I think it's going to be a tough, physically hard-nosed football team that is going to embody the spirit of their head coach. And I think Florida's going to have a pretty solid year this year. And I think it starts going in Auburn and proving a point. I just think, I seriously think Florida's going to be more put together come week 3 than Auburn will be. Um, just mainly because I mean, going back to Brian Harsin and Hugh Freeze, like there was a lot of dysfunction in that program. And there's a lot that's having to be righted in that program. Florida had it all right. They just could not deliver on the field. And John Summerall stepping in there, and I think he's like it's gonna be instant impact on the field. So I'm picking Florida. But that's more so less about Auburn and more so how high I am on John Summerall and what he's gonna bring to the table and his offensive coordinator hire, I think we're gonna look back and say that was one of the best hires all offseason was who they got as offensive coordinator from Georgia Tech.
I'll just agree to disagree. Not too much to talk about, really.
Yeah, we
then,
like both coaches. This is gonna be both coaches' first SEC
yeah,
game. So
it'll
yeah,
both coaches want to prove something in this game. I have no doubt.
yeah,
Um, they both want to be the best at what they do. They both believe in what they believe in. They both, are trying to incorporate the culture, like you said. Um, it's gonna be a nasty game. I totally believe that. So we'll see. We'll see what
oh yeah,
happens. Um, like I said, I'm taking Auburn because I think Florida has more questions. You're taking Florida because you think Auburn has more questions. Then the next week you host Vandy. Same reason for Bama. I just think they have, not enough experience. It's a rebuilding year. Um, I just think that Auburn defense is going to be too much for them. I have Auburn beating Vandy at Auburn.
yeah. I mean, look, Auburn gets some at home even earlier in the year, so even a more inexperienced Vandy team than when Alabama gets them. So I said barbecue chicken for Alabama. I'll say barbecue chicken again. There's going to be a freshman quarterback, week 4, fourth start. If he makes it, it's going to be Durkin's defense going to be feasting.
I believe that'll be his first road game in the SEC. I don't know if they play an SEC team before that. They should.
No, it will be.
Um,
They
but
play Austin P, Delaware, and NC State before that. So
okay, so
all at
this will
home.
be his first SEC game. Period.
This will be a first road game, SEC game. Period.
Yeah, and it's going into Jordan Hare against DJ Durkin. Don't see it, doing too well for the kid. I think he'll be a great quarterback over time. Just, whew, that's a tall task, if you ask me.
Yeah, it will be.
Um, then you go to Tennessee. Look, I don't think you go 5-0. I don't think Auburn starts 5-0. It's really hard. Now say if you lose to Florida, I think you beat Tennessee. If you beat Florida, I think you lose to Tennessee. I just think you drop one in the first 5 weeks. But I do think Auburn gets off to a really good start at 4-1 regardless. But I do think that Tennessee defense, like you said, it's gonna take a while for them to fully click, but I don't doubt Tennessee's defense at all. I think it'll still be a really solid group. And I think this will be Byram's first real road test. And that Auburn offense. So I think Golish will have a lot to prove in this game going against Heupel. I just, it's the first real road test. I just don't think they go 5-0.
Yeah, I have Tennessee winning. It's on the road in Neyland. That's a tough place to play. Um, the defense, like it's gonna be a work in progress, but it's still gonna be tough. Like it's still a really good defensive coordinator, and Auburn still does have a lot of new faces on the offensive side of the football. Not even referring to quarterback, just all around receivers, yada yada. I know they're getting their running back, Jeremiah Cobb. He's coming back, but this is just one of those games where it's just kind of probably like a boring game that maybe even kind of like a Auburn Texas A&M game last year or an Auburn Oklahoma where it's like it's kind of close, but the other team just kind of controls the game the whole time. Which I guess wasn't really the case with Oklahoma, maybe more so with Texas A&M. But Auburn still goes in and plays well, and you can't really be too mad at it. But it's just gonna be hard to go on the road and win in that environment. I think that's kind of how we talk about this game when it's all said and done with.
Yeah, and then you have a bye week, and then you just go into a really rough stretch. I don't want to talk much about it. You go to Georgia. Um, I think you just lose to Georgia. It just is what it is. You host LSU. I just think LSU is a better team this year. As much as I hate to say it, it'll be a really tall task. I think they could do it since it's at Auburn. Um, but if I had to put my money on it right now, no way. Um, then you go to Ole Miss once again.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Can't sit past LSU. I got something to say.
Okay.
I got Auburn winning. Because remember, my rule about Auburn: when predicting Auburn's schedule, pick a game that they have no business losing, pick them to lose it. Pick a game that they have no business winning, pick them to win it. Because they do it every year, except last year. Um, this game reminds me a lot of the Texas A&M game from a couple years ago that went to 4 overtimes. They Texas A&M, had they won that game, probably is in Atlanta that year, probably playing in the SEC championship game, probably as a playoff team. But they went and Jordan Hare lost. LSU probably is competing to go to Atlanta, probably competing for a playoff spot, but they went into Auburn and lost in Jordan Hare. So I'm picking Auburn to win, but that's just because my rule. Auburn's going to win a game. They have no business winning. It's going to happen. They're going to get somebody. LSU, that's right before a bye for LSU too. So
Yeah, I do think. Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
yeah,
They play 8 straight weeks, no break.
yeah,
So that is something. If we do win, it's because we're at Auburn. They played 8 straight weeks. They're exhausted, and their mind is on that bye week that is coming up. They're like, "Gosh,
because
I'm
you get
so
bye week and
exhausted.
then Bama.
I
Yeah,
wanna I wanna chill out." Um, yeah, and then you're looking at Bama. So, um, if you do win, it's for reasons like that. Um,
yeah.
and I will say this: Auburn versus Lane Kiffin. When Lane Kiffin is the head coach, obviously, um, has fared well for Auburn. So I will give them that. I don't think Ole Miss has a positive record against us with Lane Kiffin as their coach. Um, we typically beat Ole Miss before they took that game away. Um, 2 years ago now? So
Yeah, a couple years.
so we'll see. I have my doubts. Um, I hate losing to
I'll be
LSU,
honest.
so I hope we don't. But
Yeah, I don't think I really actually think LSU beats Auburn, but I think I just have to pick it somewhere, and I think this is just the most likely scenario that I picked.
then you go to old Oxford. Um, they have Trinidad Chambliss. I don't know how Pete Golding's going to be as a head coach. They have Trinidad Chambliss. I think Trinidad Chambliss is the best returning quarterback in all of college football. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm lying. The second best. I think Arch Manning is the best.
Who's the best?
I think Arch Manning.
Fair enough.
I think Arch Manning will be just because of the system he's in. Now he has Cam Coleman. I think they're going to be a tough
Talent wise, give me Trinidad. Give me Trinidad all day, talent wise. But Arch is probably gonna have the better year.
Either way,
Just because
he's a
everything
top
around him.
top 2 returning in my eyes.
Yeah.
There's no world where he's not top 2 returning quarterback in all of college football, not just the SEC. So for that reason alone, I have Ole Miss winning. Because if we have to get into a shootout, I'm not fully confident in year one, Alice Golish offense to get into a shootout.
Yeah, look, it's on the road in the SEC versus probably the best running back and quarterback duo in the SEC. Um, in a group that is going to have a ton to prove. Ole Miss is going to have a ton to prove this year. Mainly just to stick it at Lane Kiffin. So I'll take Ole Miss.
You go through that gauntlet, and then you get a pretty favorable next 3 weeks. You host Arkansas. I think Arkansas will be the worst team in the SEC. That's pretty much what everybody's predicting. Um, I think that'll be a pretty solid, easy dub. You have a tougher game going to Mississippi State. I don't think this is any sleeper, but I'll take Auburn. Um, I like the talent more. I like the proof of concept more. Um, I think I will like the physicality more at that point in time. Obviously, it's hard to tell, but I've watched. I told you last year my bandwagon team was USF, not because I thought this would happen. I told you I wanted Alice Golish, um, way earlier in the season before I even thought that would happen. Um, and it's because of things like that. They're physical, they're tough. So I think Auburn beats Mississippi State just for that reason. I don't know if you have any opinion on either of those games.
I have Mississippi State winning. Like I said, my rule: lose to somebody you shouldn't lose to, beat somebody you should not be beating. Look, it's Mississippi State. I mean, remember how I was talking about the Alabama versus Mississippi State. All the same reasons. Like Mississippi State's going to be a good team. They're going to have a good offense. They're going to have a lot to prove, and those cowbells are going to be ringing. And I think this is going to be a spot after a rough season, just because it is Mississippi State still. They're going to have a rougher season. They're not going to go win 8 or 9 games. This is going to be one of those games where the fans are like, hey, this is one that we should be able to get. And so they're going to show up. They're going to show out. And I don't know. I'll pick Mississippi State. Offense versus offense at this point. At least what we think Auburn's offense will be coming more into shape at this point. We'll see. Still be a really good Auburn defense, but uh, Jeff Lebby versus DJ Durkin will be very fun to watch, I think.
Jeff Lebby gives me, that Baylor offense from last year. That's what it kind of makes me think of. Which they run the ball more. Um, but when you talk about explosive plays, that Mississippi State can create. Um,
Oh yeah.
they find a way to make plays when they've had
Well, this
slow nights. So we'll see.
this is where, like, if Auburn's corners, if their secondary haven't clicked, if that's a weakness on the defense, this is where like Mississippi State just feasts, just chunking the ball. That air raid offense. Um, but we'll see. It's a long season. You don't know what could happen. Injuries. You don't know who could be fired at this point. You don't know who could be better than expected. So it's really hard to predict a game like this. Auburn going to Mississippi State this far out.
Yeah, and then Sanford. Oh well. And then you go to Bama. I'm just gonna say Auburn wins. We don't gotta get into it.
Yeah.
So my
So
prediction,
let's see.
I have Auburn going 8-4.
Sheesh. I have them going 6-6. Have them splitting. Um, but like those games really important. I have them beating LSU. I have them beating Baylor. Cannot lose one of those 2 games. Those 2 games are very well, not the LSU game. Beating Baylor is really important. That is a really Baylor and Florida are really important for Auburn this year. Because I mean that could be the difference between a 7-win season, an 8-win season, or it could be the difference between a 5-win season, or maybe a 4-win season if it just really collapses.
Which, like you
Uh,
said, I'm one of those fans that's, I'm not looking over Baylor. You think I just think that there's a gap. That's all I think. I would say that the most important games are Florida and Tennessee. I think you have to win one of those games. As long as you win one of those games, I
yeah,
think you're setting really good. Because in my head, there's a
you got to
90
get
there's a 90%
one
chance
of
you
those
beat Baylor.
SEC wins. One of those SEC wins. I agree. It'd be like one of those 3 games. But like if you start off with a loss versus Baylor, like mainly so like what the consequences of losing to Baylor would mean.
Oh,
Starting off on a
it would be
loss
bad if you lose to
would
Baylor.
just be, yeah, more so like the consequences from that is the reason why that game is so important.
It is very important. I just
Yeah,
have a lot of faith in my team.
fair enough.
Um, I know you said last year doesn't matter. In my mind, it matters to a certain extent, just because I thought Baylor was way better um, from a success scheme, all of that. I think they'll be way better last year than they will be this year, and I think Auburn is going to end up being way better this year than they were last year. So that's my thought process behind it.
Yeah. Well, with so many different pieces, like new pieces, it's so hard to tell. Um,
Right, but
I think
here's my question: is how much of it is really new pieces? Um, because you have a running back that's from USF. All of your wide receivers are from USF. Your center is USF, and your
well, I was
quarterback
more
is
so talking
USF.
about the Baylor side.
Okay, okay.
Baylor's roster is completely overhauled. Um, so I mean by like you don't know fully know what we're getting with Baylor just because like what if everything came together? What if it didn't? Who knows? We seriously have no idea. I tend to lean, like I said, towards probably not, but it could. Um, and then Auburn. I mean, the serious question is not necessarily the new pieces. It's how do you go from playing in the American Conference to playing in the SEC? It's going to be a curve, regardless. It's just naturally it's
Right.
going to be. There's a curve from going to the Big 12 to the SEC. It's just how it is. So we'll see. How do all of them respond? I'm concerned how Auburn's receiving core will be this year. I think Auburn fans should be slightly concerned because how will they fare in the SEC week after week, 9-game SEC schedule? Like that's gonna be tough for anyone, let alone a group of guys that are completely unproven at this level. I think they'll be all right, especially down the stretch of the season. But like, that's not a gimme. 100%
I'll
not a gimme.
say I'm not concerned for the fact of which this is me taking Golish's word. I'm gonna do that until he gives me a reason not to. Golish said verbatim. This is word for word what he said. We're going to run the piss out of the football. That's what Golish
Yeah,
said. Um, and you have four amazing running backs. You got a guy from Baylor that was really good. You have Jeremiah Cobb. You have Omar Mabson, who was really good last year. And then you got the guy from USF. That's four running backs who I think, splitting carries, Jeremiah being the head of it all, um, will be one of the best running back rooms in the SEC. Personally, um, as a room, complete room. Um,
yeah,
and then on the other side of that is the wide receivers don't have to be great athletically. They don't have to be great route runners. It the From what I've seen, it's a scheme thing, right? So it's more of a chess thing rather than my guy's better than your guy. It's this is going to work and here's why. You get that run game going and right, this run game is working effectively. We call this play the way that they spread out. It's math. So you read the linebackers, you read the safeties. Okay, boom. I know this guy's going to be open because that safety's dropping. That linebacker's over here out of position. All I got to do is get it there. That's why I think it's not. That's why I'm not concerned, just because I've seen it so much, and it's not really an athletic thing or a I'm just going to go up and get it thing, which they have done that. But for that reason, I think it's not so much of the wide receivers have to be the best wide receivers in college football. They don't even have to be, you know, on the top half of the SEC. I just think they have to be middle of the pack. Same with Byron Brown. I think Byron Brown literally just has to be a middle of the pack SEC quarterback for this offense to be successful.
oh, no, I agree. But in a 9-game conference schedule, at some point you're just gonna have to be better. As there's some point like that, you're gonna just have
Right.
to be more skilled. So we'll see. Like, I mean, hopefully for their sake, that happens later in the season than earlier in the season. Or at least that needs to happen later in the season than earlier in the season. Um,
And there's two guys that I
can't.
think fully can be SEC wide receivers, and that's Jeremiah Koger. He's like 6'3". He's a big
Big
body,
dude.
go get it guy. And he has the physical traits. And then Keyshawn Singleton, he was recruited to go play at Ole Miss. He was recruited to go play at LSU. He chose to come play with Alex Golish. So obviously other SEC teams see it in them. Uh, I'm not as concerned as I think you are or other people are.
Yeah. One thing I do know about Auburn is 100% they're less talented this year than last year, just on paper. On paper, less talented, less stars by names. Um, that means nothing in today's college football, as it's been proven. That means nothing. The stars by your name mean nothing when you came out of high school. Kurt Cinetti proved that. So I'd be really interested to see how it gels year one, and if they do try to run the ball a lot, which they probably will. Um, if that breaks down, or if their defense kind of has an off night, is inconsistent, if somebody's able to kind of pick them apart here and there, which is like Auburn's defense has been prone to being picked apart at times, rarely, but it has happened. Um, then how can the offense keep up? Can they make the really explosive plays consistently throughout a game? But that's why I haven't gone 6-6. Not not a bad record, but not a super great record. It's a better record than what it's been the past few years. So there's that.
If you win the bowl game, I don't even want to give them credit. If we go 6-6, I'm gonna be disappointed. I'm just letting you know now.
And that's what's wrong with y'all, Anderson. Y'all disappointed with the bowl game. You ain't made a bowl game in years.
And I'm disappointed with that too.
Fair enough, but
right,
baby steps. Baby steps.
No.
Baby steps. The talent profile of this team is not that of an 8-win team. It's just not. Just truth be told, it's not. Now you could end up doing that, but it's probably just not.
I would disagree, but obviously I'm biased.
Yeah.
What makes you? My biggest question on the whole team is offensive line, right? But Auburn had arguably in talent wise one of the most talented offensive lines last year than they have had in a really long time. And then it got out on the field and you saw, wow, all this talent, and it looks like crap.
Well, Alabama was the same way.
Right, true. So that's my biggest question. If the O-line isn't good, I agree with you. It will be a 6-6, 6-16. But if the O-line just does its job, and once again, like the same way with every other part of the offense other than running backs, the O-line is average. I think we're okay. I think we're.
But like average in the SEC is 8th, top 8 in the SEC. That'd be good. It's a good offensive line. If Auburn can have a top 10 quarterback, if they can have a top 10 offensive line, if they can have top 10 receiving, like that's gonna be good. It's gonna be good for them. But like talent profile wise, yeah, questions on the offensive line, questions at the receiver. How does Byron Brown transition from playing American defenses to SEC defenses, and then that secondary? That can be wrong, but talent profile, it doesn't jump off the page to that of an 8-4 team. Because 8-4, like, to put that in comparison, like, I have Oklahoma going 8-4, and I think Oklahoma's talent profile is, well, hey, Oklahoma plays the toughest schedule in the country.
Arkansas does.
Oklahoma literally plays the toughest schedule in the country.
Arkansas definitely does.
No, not in the rankings. Not in the rankings.
Arkansas is number 1.
Well, it depends where you look. But consistently, Oklahoma's top 3 toughest schedules in the country, depending on where you look. Sometimes top 1. In my opinion.
I'm gonna let you know I'm really high on Oklahoma this year.
Yeah, I am too. Their schedule is that tough. Their schedule is that tough.
I think they're an SEC champion contender.
It's too tough. There's too many. They'd have to do too much. They have to do too much. Their running game was bad last year. It might be better. It might not be. They're replacing a lot on defense. Um, their wide receiver core got better, but it's not phenomenal. Um, John Mateer will be excellent. Can he stay healthy? He changed up his throwing motion to where hopefully that doesn't happen. How does that um, end up not being a good thing? Him changing his throwing motion? Maybe he won't get hurt, but does that create inconsistency? I don't think so. And on top of, yes, they play arguably the toughest or second toughest schedule in the entire country. But we can look at their schedule, man. It's tough. It's tough.
I see. I see 10-2.
Walk me through that.
UTEP, I don't got to explain. I think they beat Michigan. I think they're going to be a better team than Michigan. I have extreme doubts about Michigan. New Mexico, I don't got to walk you through that. Is that Oklahoma at Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just making sure I was correct. So I think they lose to Georgia. I think they lose to Texas, and then I think they win out.
So here's my concern with their schedule. So you go to Michigan. Kyle Whittingham is a phenomenal head coach. It's going to be tough going to Michigan. Just they could win. I have them losing just because I'm not going to pick Oklahoma to go to Michigan and beat Michigan with Kyle Whittingham as the head coach. That's more so my respect for Kyle Whittingham, and Michigan with a worse head coach, a less developed quarterback, a overall worse team last year, won 9 games. So I'm kind of putting some blind faith that Whittingham, at the very least, is going to be able to go win 9 games this year. And I think part of that is going to be beating Oklahoma at home, at Georgia, at Texas. Give me both Georgia and Texas. What's really important there, what I'm really looking at is between Georgia and Texas is a bye week. In week 5, there's 13 weeks. You have to go 18 straight weeks without eight more weeks without a bye in the SEC, playing a 9-game SEC schedule, and you already have a back against the wall. You bring in Kentucky, that should be a win. You go to Mississippi State, it's still a road game in the SEC. You should win, but it's still a road game. That wears you out. You bring in South Carolina. They have Lenore Sellers. They have Nick Harbor. They have probably the best defensive player in the SEC on defense in a year that is do or die for South Carolina. I do believe that is in October. You know how I feel about October. Watch out. The next week, you go to Florida. Florida, John, to me, this is going to sound crazy. I think John Summerall and Brent Venables are a lot alike. Defensive coach, high energy, really aggressive culture guys. I think John Summerall's a better coach. I picking Oklahoma to win because I think Oklahoma has the better team. But look, hey, Anderson, let me remind you. Hold on. I got you. A lot of scrolling. Hold up. All right, here we go. All right, so last year they went 10-3. The year before they went 6-7. The year before they went 10-3. The year before they went 6-7. If history just repeats itself, every other year Brent Venables has a bad year. He's underperformed quite a couple times. He's overperformed a couple times. It's a tough schedule. I have Florida beating, or I have Oklahoma beating Florida, but that's not a gimme. You're going down to the swamp against a coach that I think is going to end up being better in the long run, against a team that is not bad. Florida's not going to be a bad team. Let's see. Let me find Oklahoma's schedule again. So already tough schedule. Now you got to go to Florida. You bring in Ole Miss. Probably the best quarterback and running back duo in the SEC coming to town against a defense that does have a lot of new pieces. Will be a really good defense because it's a Brent Venables defense. But we still don't know a ton about Ole Miss defensively. how will Pete Golden adapt from the Lane Kiffin years to the Pete Golden years on the defense side of the ball. But I'll pick Oklahoma, but that's another losable game. Yada yada. Where's it at?
Then they host Texas A&M.
Yeah. Then you bring in Texas A&M. Then you go to Missouri. So you have 8 straight weeks of Texas at Mississippi State, South Carolina, at Florida, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, at Missouri, and before that you go to Michigan and to Georgia. 8-4 is not crazy at all. That is insanely tough. I would pick Alabama to go 8-4 against them. Against that schedule, I'm picking Alabama to go 8-4.
I think very highly of Oklahoma. If Alabama had this schedule, I would have them probably going 10-2 as well. If Georgia had this schedule, I'd probably have them going 10-2 as well.
That's just too tough.
So you say that, and then I feel like that's what was said last year about Oklahoma, because we even said that. We said it's going to be really tough.
This schedule is still way tougher than last year's. This schedule is insane. If Oklahoma goes 10-2 and is playing the SEC championship game, John Mateer's winning the Heisman.
And I think John Mateer is a Heisman candidate.
No, he's gonna win the Heisman. That's the level of performance this dude's gonna have to put on to get them there.
I disagree.
This is tough.
I disagree.
This is
tough.
Because
this Brent Venables defense, John Mateer can have 2-3 bad games, and they still win.
Before Halloween, they would have gone to Michigan. No, not even before Halloween. Before halfway through October, they would have gone to Michigan, to Georgia, and Texas on a neutral site, and they still go to.
And that's
Michigan,
the hardest part
Florida,
of the
South
schedule.
Carolina. But still, like to South Carolina, to Mississippi State, bringing in South Carolina, going to Florida, Ole Miss, A&M, and going to Missouri. That's not easy. Missouri.
I'm a lot lower.
Missouri has probably the best running back in the SEC, Ahmad Hardy. We'll see how he heals. I know he had the accident, whatever, the incident. Probably not necessarily an accident, more so an incident. Austin Simmons was Lane Kiffin's hand-picked QB. Now, he didn't deliver, but all Austin Simmons has to do is be what Lane Kiffin, who is an excellent evaluator of quarterbacks, he just has to do what Lane Kiffin thought he would do. Eli Drinkwitz is a phenomenal head coach. I think Missouri takes a step back this year, but going to Missouri at the end of the year is not a gimme. Especially, like, that's the thing. Like, there's, in my opinion, there's 2 games that I'm just marking down as losses. But then there's like 5 other losable games on the schedule. It's so tough. It's so tough. And to me, the receiving core is not good enough. The defense is just simply not going to be as good as last year. It's not going to be much worse. It's going to be really good, but it's not going to be as good. Last year's defense was really good. The running back or the rushing game, I'm not confident is going to be exceptionally better. It was bad last year, like Alabama's. It's going to be a little bit better, but not a ton better. And to me, all that combined with inconsistencies from Brent Venables throughout his career, I just don't see a world where they go win double-digit games this year. That'd be so tough, so tough. As much as I'd like to, and I did my top 25. At 8-4, I still have them finishing in the top 25, and that's a credit to their wins. They're gonna have really good wins, but also that their losses are just not bad losses. They could lose 6 games, and none of them would be a bad loss. That's just how tough it is.
I hear you, and I agree that it's tough. I just think that they're going to be winners. That's what I'm saying. I think John Mateer is a winner. I think that Brent Venables' defense is going to play like winners. They have their OC. I think they have a really, really solid wide receiver room, and I think they have one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. And that to me that's a recipe of winning tough games. Winning when it's difficult. But we'll see.
Yeah,
like I said, I'm really high on Oklahoma.
It's the 8 straight games after a bye. That's what does it. If their bye was a few weeks later,
I think if the schedule was flip-flopped, I think it would be a lot harder to convince me. I think after that bye week, it gets a lot easier for Oklahoma because they've played all of their toughest games already. I think you get Ole Miss and Texas A&M at home. At Texas A&M at home. Um, my questions for Ole Miss is, I believe in Trinidad Chambliss all the way. He's going to be phenomenal. But I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the offense that they were without Lane Kiffin and without that OC. And now you have Pete Golding going from DC, who wasn't really good at all, to head coach. So what is that going to look like? I have those questions. I think they're just going to be better than Texas A&M at home. I'm a lot lower on Florida than you are. I think they're just simply better than South Carolina. I think they're just simply better than Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Missouri.
The four losses. See, I have them winning all those games though, but I have them losing to Texas A&M mainly just because of burnout. It's just gonna be so tough. That would be their 7th game in a row. Texas A&M, at that point in the season, would be coming off. Yeah, so that would be at that point Texas A&M coming to town. Oklahoma would be playing their 7th game in a row. Texas A&M would be playing their 3rd. Way fresher. And also think about at that point in the season, if they're a 3-loss team, like you can forget the playoffs as a 3-loss team. So you have tired legs. You're already out of playoff contention. A&M is still in playoff contention, still fighting for playoff contention because A&M would be going to Oklahoma and then bringing in Texas, so they still have to be laser focused. They are still in the thick of their season. I don't see. I see Oklahoma could win that. I just think Texas A&M wins that, just because I mean, goodness, that's so tough. That's your 7th straight game. Your reward is getting A&M, who's pretty fresh, and should be clicking at that time. Should be playing their best football, even though you get them at home. It's just too tough, too tough. The Michigan game is really important. Not if they could go to Michigan and win, that would be really, really huge for them. They gotta go win that, because if not, then you're starting the year off early with 3 losses, and I just don't see a way where they don't lose another game.
Yeah,
They're gonna drop another game somewhere else.
I think the 2 most important games are the Red River rivalry and Michigan game.
Of course, yeah, you gotta win one of them.
If you win one of them,
You gotta
I'm very high
win.
on them, man. That's just my thing. We'll see.
You gotta win one of them. If you lose both of them, I just don't see a way where you don't lose another game. And there's just no way. The schedule's too tough from there on out, and you go too long without a break. If it was a 14-week year where they get another bye week, like it was last year you get 2 bye weeks because it was a 14-week year, then I'd feel different. But you only get 1 bye week this year, and they get it early.
You want to do some early predictions like Heisman champions? Maybe,
yeah, do that.
I guess defensive player, offensive player.
Sure.
I guess let's start with the big one. Who do you think will win the Heisman?
Oh. Arch Manning. If I think the pieces are all there around him to really help him, and if he can just be competitive, the name will win it. And I'm not saying I think Arch Manning is talented.
Yeah.
I'm not saying his name is going to do it for him, but I think like if it's a competition between him and someone else, let's be real, his name is going to help. His name's going to help. Just the fact of the matter. So I'm going to go Arch Manning. I know the Arch Manning preseason hype, yada yada, it gets annoying. I agree, but I think the pieces around him. I think he played a lot better towards the end of last year. Finishing off his game versus Texas A&M, he played good. His game in the bowl game versus Michigan, a good defense, he played really good. And his team is better. The offense around him is better. The running game will be phenomenal. Very quietly might be one of the best running games in the SEC. His wide receiver group is really good. He has a very phenomenal play caller in Steve Sarkisian. His defense probably has the first or second best defensive player in the SEC on the roster. So he's going to have plenty of opportunity to have the ball in his hands and make plays happen in really good situations. So I'll say Arch just because It's just too convenient, I think.
Can I say just what a year for quarterbacks it's going to be?
Yeah.
Um,
And there's going to be a couple that we are not talking about that are
right.
inevitably going to put
And
their name in the hat.
I think at least four of the guys that are in the Heisman conversation at the end of the year are quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
I think Trinidad will be there. I'm so high on Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say Mateer will be in that conversation for me. Um,
If he can stay healthy, he will be there. Even if an 8-4 season happens,
I
like he'll
think
be in that conversation.
Julian Sayin will be in the conversation. I think Trinidad will be in the conversation. I think Jeremiah Smith will be in the conversation. I think it's just going to be Arch. He looked so good at the end of last year, like he looked like the Arch Manning that everybody talks about. Um, he he looked really good in the Manning camp. His offense has gotten better, and I think it's not super loud, but that Sark seat, somebody's turning the heater on. I'm not saying it's warm,
Yeah.
but it definitely ain't cold no more.
They put they put a heater up under the seat and they
Th-
haven't turned it on, but it's sitting up under there. They're ready to turn
they
it on.
they hired Sark for a reason, and so far Sark has failed to deliver on that reason. There's a lot of questions. This is by far the best and most talented offense that he's built since he's gotten to Texas. Um, and I just think Arch is going to build on what he left with. He's going to look as good as he did. He's got Cam Coleman, arguably a top 3 wide receiver in all of college football. You can say that I'm biased because I'm still rooting for the guy. But I just don't see a world where Texas isn't one of the best teams in the nation, where Arch isn't one of the best QBs in the nation, and this offense doesn't look electric. Kind of like Marcel Reed, there were inconsistencies last year, and he does have to take that step similar to Marcel Reed. If he does, I think it's scary. I think he's the most talented quarterback in all of college football. I think he'll be a first round draft pick, whether he looks consistent or not. That's how talented he is. And then the wide receiver room just looks so good. So Arch Manning.
Yeah, I'd say other contenders for me are obviously Arch Manning, Trinidad, Dante Moore at Oregon, coming back to college for another year. I think that pays dividends. I think he's gonna have a really good year. Probably the best wide receiver room he's had since he's been there. CJ Carr is incredibly talented. That my only concern, one thing that I think helps his case, also hurts his case. He plays a relatively easy schedule. Let's be honest. Um, so I think that'll help him look really good, but that also means he probably will come out of a few games, which will inevitably bring his stats down a little bit.
Like a Julian Sayin from last year.
Yeah, right. So it's like it'll be good enough to get him in New York for the Heisman ceremony,
Right.
but not good enough to elevate him to winner.
Right.
Um, who would you say is your Heisman dark horse? Like somebody who maybe you've heard their name a little bit, maybe you haven't heard their name at all. Um, that really could surprise people and end up winning it.
I'm gonna be very biased. I'm sorry, bro. I have to. I have to be super biased. Hold on. Look. And obviously we don't agree with the roster talent. I think this is an extremely talented Auburn roster if they can figure it out quick and early. If they can't, it won't go well. If you find a way to start 5-0 and win one of the upcoming games and find a way to go 9-3, I think Byron Brown is in that conversation. I was, and I'm not saying this just because I'm an Auburn fan. I know, like, obviously, I'm being biased, but I was high on Byron Brown all last year. You can go back and watch all the podcast videos. I was high on Byron Brown. I think he finds a way to translate to the SEC because he's that type of quarterback. We've seen it with plenty other group of 5 quarterbacks that have gone to the next level and just proved that they belong. I think Byron Brown belongs. Um, I think this is a offensive system that has proof of concept. Um, and it's not completely insane because there are conversations being had out there that if Auburn can get out to that hot start, that his name will be in that hat early in the season. Now he's gonna have to pull off some upsets, but if he does that, I think he's in contention for Heisman. I don't think that's crazy to say. Um, he's one of I think 12 quarterbacks in the history to throw for 3,000 and rush for 1,000. I don't think he'll throw for 3,000 in the SEC, but I could see a world where he throws for 2,500 and still runs for 1,000 yards. And if you do that in the SEC, that's pretty daggum impressive. Um, now now that I got that out of the way, I don't want to just give my Auburn guy and that be it because I know that that's like making you live it in your brain right now. Um, to think that I'm that naive because I am. Um, but two, I'll give three names. Marcel Reed, I'm super high on him. Um, I'm not even gonna attempt to say his name. I hope you know who I'm talking about. But the Cal quarterback, Spaghetti,
California, yeah,
Spaghetti. That's what I'm gonna call him. He's super
he's
good.
good. All right, yeah,
He's really
he's
good.
good.
And then Bachmeier. I think Bachmeier is really good, and I think BYU has an opportunity to go to the playoffs this year. And I think if he can lead that team, he'll be in that conversation.
Yeah. The thing about Byron Brown, like we disagree on the talent profile. Even I think the best case scenario, the talent profile still lacks in comparison to everyone else we said. At least in the contenders, and I think that's why it would like, and also like if Auburn goes 8-4, a quarterback of an 8-4 team's not winning the Heisman. It's just not happening. So like they're gonna have to elevate beyond what most people
He would
consider their
definitely have
ceiling.
to take him to 9-3.
It yeah, it would at the very least, like easily. Bear Bogmeyer, I don't think they're gonna throw the ball enough. It's not really their MO. I think they'll throw the ball more this year, but I don't think enough. But I get that. California, they're from California, Spaghetti, like you said. It's California. Kind of the same reason why Derrick Henry had a phenomenal year in 2015. Some people say Christian McCaffrey had a better year, but he played out on the Pac-12 for Stanford. Derrick Henry did it in the SEC for Bama. Kind of the same reasoning logic. If that's fair, not fair, who knows? Personally, I think it's fair. Um, some of my dark horses, Jaden Maiava out at USC, Lincoln Riley's produced multiple Heisman winning quarterbacks, and that offense is going to be moving this year.
I totally forgot
Um,
he's a returning quarterback. I would have him in that
I'm
conversation.
really, yeah, I'm
I'm high
really
on
high on
Mayava.
USC as a whole, and I'm really high on Maiava. I'm gonna say Keelan Russell. Just Keelan Russell's not even been named the starting quarterback. But I also think like that's not crazy. The talent's there. He's a 5-star dude. You've seen him out on the football field. He can throw it anywhere on the field. He's a true dual threat guy. I think the offense with the RPO ability can be set for him to have a really good year. He has the receiver talent. Alabama does not lack in receiver talent. They'll have injuries early in the year because we're waiting on one guy to come back from injury. But the receiver talent's there. The defense is there to be able to keep them in games to where like the record will be there. Because like truth be told, let's be real. I predicted Alabama to go 11-1, and I know you technically predicted 10-2, but whatever. Um, if Alabama goes 11-1, Keelan Russell, if he's the starting quarterback, is probably in the Heisman conversation. Let's just be real, because he's the Alabama quarterback that went 11-1. Um, he's incredibly talented, and but also the reason why I think he'd be in there is because I think the running game will be better. I think we both can agree it will be better, but it's not going to be great. It's probably still going to be bad. And so if Alabama is a double digit win team, it's because that dude played really, really good. He played really good. Um, so I'll throw Keelan in there. His Heisman odds are fairly low because he hasn't been announced a starter. If he gets announced a starter, the first thing I'm going to do, like the next day, is go look at the Heisman odds and see how far he jumps up. Because I imagine he will jump up in the Heisman odds. Because he already has. After A Day, he jumped up like 10 spots in the Heisman just from A Day. If he gets announced a starter, I imagine he'll move up another 3, 4, 5 spots. because I think right now he's sitting right about 10 to 12 range. He'll probably jump up into the top 8 in the Heisman odds, just being named the starter if he does, because the talent's there. He's so raw, like talent wise. Like he's got all the abilities. He can run. He has a really strong arm. He's incredibly accurate. Um, Other dark horses, Lane Kiffin still never produced a Heisman. I know it's tough at Ole Miss. Now he's got the brand recognition behind him. I know we both have concerns over health, but Sam Levitt definitely still deserves to be mentioned because he is going to be in that Lane Kiffin offense. Um, Other than that, other like non-quarterbacks, obviously Jeremiah Smith, Kawan Lacey, um, Mark Fletcher down at Miami. I'll throw Darian Minson in there, just because they have produced good quarterbacks the past couple years. Good quarterback play, I should say, the past couple years. Um, but it's such a quarterback heavy year. I think all the Heisman finalists this year are quarterbacks, truth be told. Mainly because I think like the only other options, like Jeremiah Smith, if he has a good year, Julian Saint has a good year. So I think Julian Saint would beat him out because it is still a quarterback award to be able to go to New York. That's just the way I look at it.
I mean, my only rebuttal to that one is we both watched and talked about Devontae Smith and how good he was, and he won the Heisman. Mac Jones was there, but Devontae won the Heisman. I think Jeremiah Smith is just that good, to where if he
Well,
was in the conversation,
but those Devontae numbers were something else.
No, they were
in a shortened season.
They were for sure.
Well, they were insane.
My opinion on that.
Yeah,
that year. I have no
insane.
Rebuttal on that.
I think
no, it is a quarterback year though.
Yeah, he'd have to like the numbers he would have to do to truly get in that conversation, like realistically winning it.
He'd probably have to put up 1,700 yards.
Yeah, Devontae Smith
12
had like
plus
20
touchdowns.
Yeah, Devontae Smith had like 20 plus touchdowns, 1,800 yards in a shortened year against only SEC teams. That was absurd. What that dude did was absurd. So I mean seriously, like you're right, 1,700 yards. He'd probably actually have to put up 14 or 15 touchdowns. He'd like all combined because I know they give him the ball out of the backfield too. So we'll include like him getting a rushing touchdown or two in there. It'd have to be a phenomenal year. I just don't see it happening. Number one, because there's a lot of wide receiver talent. Yeah. There's a lot of wide receiver talent. They're really talented at the running back, and his starting quarterback was also in New York for the Heisman ceremony last year too. Mm-hmm. Julian Saint is not a bum. He had the highest QBR last year, or the highest completion percentage last year of anyone in the nation. I think the only one above 80%. So it'd be too tough. Plus, they're just gonna run over some teams, and he'll come out the game. Just being honest.
Yep. I have no disagreements. I put in my guy, you put in your guy. I think we can just walk away, both knowing that we put our own names in the hats.
Well, okay. I'll ask it. Which is more realistic?
You asking me?
Yeah.
Gosh, bro, because it's gonna sound biased, bro. I'm gonna say Byron Brown just because he was in the conversation last year, and he is. I think he has higher odds right now than Keelan Russell.
I don't think that's true, actually.
I don't know. For a fact. Last time I checked, I think it was Byron Brown plus 8,000.
Yeah, I think Keelan Russell's already made it into the 5,000s.
Okay.
Let me see. I got it right here. Keelan Russell is 2,200.
Okay.
I'm telling you,
what is Byron?
Byron Brown, 5,500. So he moved up some too. Okay. This is FanDuel, by the way. I know everyone's different, but let's see. Byron Brown, I'm not going to count that much. Okay, but I'll show you the whole screen. If I put Keelan at the top and Byron at the bottom, it fills up the whole screen. I don't know if you can tell.
That's fair.
But then again, you also have to remember brand recognition, Alabama, Auburn, at this point in time, and overall like talent roster around them. I'm sure we can both agree Alabama's talent profile is better than Auburn's. That's not bold. It's not crazy.
No debate, no pushback.
But now remember, going into the Iron Bowl last year, you did say Auburn and Alabama were comparable talent wise. I'm not gonna forget that. You said that. Those
Last year
words
they
came
were.
out your mouth.
Talent-wise, they
But
were comparable.
wide receiver room for sure. Offensive line for sure, and defense for sure. The only area that I really gave Alabama the edge was just quarterback. Alabama had a better quarterback.
Quarterback and tight end, Alabama had it.
Oh yeah, Alabama had some stud tight ends last year.
Hey, Ty Simpson made the plays that was needed to win, and unfortunately, my favorite player, the last play in an Auburn uniform, was the most devastating play of all.
The fadeaway, chunk it to the back of the end
Hey,
zone.
I'll give him credit, man. That's a tough throw, bro. I can't. When it happened, I said, can't do much else.
What can you do?
There's nothing you
What
can
can you
do.
do?
It gave me
What can you do?
it reminded me of Kyrie Irving versus Klay Thompson in the Christmas game
Oh
when he hit
yeah.
that fadeaway and Klay Thompson was just in his face like nothing you can do, bro.
What
That's
can
just
I?
he's just
What can
better.
I do? Yeah.
He just made the play.
Yeah. Fair enough.
But that was last year. I could care less.
Mm.
I'm moving on to better days, hopefully.
Hopefully not.
But way too early championship prediction. What's on your mind?
I'm going biased. I'm going to say Alabama just because the ceiling is there. There's a championship ceiling. But like, let's be real. If the offensive line doesn't take a jump, if the running game doesn't take a jump, that's just not happening. Because you got to where you were because Ty Simpson was just that good. It would be unrealistic to think whoever wins the starting quarterback job to be as good as Ty Simpson. Now, I'm a believer in Kellen DeBoer. I think he's one of the best quarterback developers in the country. We said the same thing about about Ty Simpson last year. We don't know what we're getting with him. It's his first year as a starter, and he shut everyone up real fast. I think whoever wins the job will do the same exact thing this year. But to that level, it'd be unrealistic to expect that. But defensively, it's going to be a championship caliber defense. I think we have championship caliber wide receiver and quarterback rooms. Coaching, I think it's all there. I think our defensive staff and offensive staff are both good enough. I believe Ryan Grove got rated the best offensive play caller in the SEC by some.
Okay.
They had some metric or something that showed that when it comes time calling plays, like he did the best or whatever. I don't know what they used, but whatever. That's a thing. Running back talent will be better this year. And I think what Alabama can do in the RPO game will open up the run game and allow the offensive line or alleviate some of the pressure off the offensive line. But the offensive line is still a concern. In this scenario, this is a pissed off Alabama and Kalen DeBoer team, which you've seen some vibes that could be the case. But Kalen DeBoer is more laid back. This ain't going to happen with a laid back DeBoer. It's just not going to happen. More realistic championship prediction. I got to say Notre Dame. They have the quarterback. They have a pretty solid wide receiver room. They have the best defensive back in the nation, and they have a lot to prove. A lot to prove. And Marcus Freeman is probably the perfect guy to lead a team with a lot to prove because just kind of his energy and everything. So I'm going to say Notre Dame.
That shocks me.
In my predictions that I have on my phone, I have Notre Dame losing to Bama in the game before the national championship game. But I'm that high on Notre Dame.
My answer is the SEC. I don't know who it is. The SEC. The SEC has gone too long without winning a championship. I just think an SEC team wins. Obviously, I'm SEC biased. I feel like Ohio State's team is worse from last year. If I was going to go out of conference, I would say Ohio State. I'm not as high on Darian Mensah as a lot of others are. I think he's a talented, good quarterback. I don't think which they did it with Carson Beck, and he's not much. He got there with Carson Beck, and he's not much of nothing either. But I feel like Miami lost too much. I feel like Ohio State lost too much.
I'll say it's got a tough schedule too.
I haven't looked at their schedule.
It ain't no cakewalk, dude. It's a tough schedule. They go
But I
to
definitely
Indiana. They
believe.
bring it again. Yeah.
My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. But they bring in Oregon. They go to Indiana. They go to USC, and they go to Texas. They go to Iowa. They go to Nebraska. That's just a tough schedule.
If I had to pick a team or two, I would say it's either Georgia or Texas A&M. I still think Kirby Smart is the best coach in all of college football. I mean, they were a few plays away from being in the semifinals last year. And who knows what would have happened had they had made it. And that team was not anywhere near the best Kirby Smart team we've ever seen. It was probably one of the worst in recent history for Kirby. And you got a lot of those guys returning. You have a returning quarterback. You have probably a top 3 best running back room in all of the SEC. Their defense is going to be their defense. Nobody adjusts the way that Kirby Smart does. And then Texas, I'm just super high on. I'm falling into the Arch Manning hype. They have Cam Coleman. Their defense is going to show up. Sue me.
Yeah, I don't have SEC bias. I could care less, to be honest. Because if Georgia or Texas wins it, I'm going to be mad Bama don't win it. So I could really care less on that front. I'm going to say Kirby Smart's best team is probably behind him just because the way college football is set up right now.
Yeah.
Just not going to be able to stack talent like that. That's not bold.
I was just more so saying that last year's team was it was rough. Well, not bad, but it was just he had to be harder, and he had to coach harder.
I don't think at the end of the year Kirby Smart was upset with the results of the season, just given what was put in front of him. But I'm trying to look. I have my playoff bracket already made out, so I'm trying to think. I have Boise State as the G5 team. I just picked the team with the best odds. I know nothing about who it could be. So Boise State has the best odds, so Boise State gets it.
Everybody in the American got ran through. Like all of the coaches in the American Conference got stolen.
Yeah.
And that's really the best G5 group. What, Boise's in the pack now, correct?
Yeah, that pack. Yeah, correct.
Where did what's that dude's name from Bama? Sherwood or
Jamarcus Shepard.
To
Oregon State.
Yeah, I think Oregon State has a solid roster this year, having a guy come from a bigger school. Like that, you obviously have not Will Stein. Who's that dude from? Who was the OC last year for Ohio State? He's at USF now. I think they can make some shake.
Yeah. He threw some shade at Golish.
Yeah, I know. I saw. I think that's crazy. What did Golish do to him?
Well, a lot of USF fans low-key mad at
Golish, they're really upset. But
I don't know what to say to that.
I don't even want to talk about that, bro. Look, you're USF. Accept the fact that you're just. I mean, what do they think? What's his name's gonna do if he finds success? You think he's gonna stay loyal to USF? You think he's gonna stay loyal to you guys? He's going to a Big Ten and SEC and AC. He's going to a Power 4 conference. It's just what your program is. It is what. Just accept it. Be happy that he turned your program around. Be happy that a guy like I keep forgetting his name. I keep wanting to say Will Stein, but that's Oregon's OC. That's at Kentucky.
Brian Hartline.
Yeah, Hartline. I mean, if Hartline has any sort of success, he's not staying. Be happy. Like, Golish has now made a pipeline for USF, for these coaches to come in and get that experience and then go take better opportunities. In my opinion, Golish has opened up an opportunity at USF that they will constantly have coaches coming in with high potential. And maybe, just maybe one time, you find one guy that's, not good enough for the Power Four, but he's great in the G5 that he just sticks with
Yeah,
it.
he'd get plucked anyway. He'd get plucked anyway. That's just the nature of college football.
I mean, I don't know.
Because
Bunch of
great in the
crybabies.
Power Four. I mean, look, Alex Golesh went what last year? 9-3,
9-3.
and the year before that went like 6-6, maybe
They went 7-5,
7-5.
7-5.
Okay, so that was good enough to get plucked to the SEC.
Yeah.
So he like
Well, I do
yeah,
think some
yeah,
context is
it should.
needed because I don't think
Well,
you
yeah,
can
the
go
first year,
7-5, seven
the first
five,
couple
and
years.
then 9-3 again and be
Yeah,
automatically plucked to the SEC. Only for the simple fact that
yeah,
when
right.
Golish got there, they had 4 combined wins in 3 years.
Yeah,
So
they
that
were
was a
bad. He
complete
turned him around.
180.
He turned him
Now,
around for
if
sure.
Heartline
That's
comes in
yeah,
and takes a 9-3 team, which they're losing a lot of talent, and then goes 7-5, 7-5, and then 9-3, I think there's a little bit more questions. I think he needs one more year.
yeah, yeah.
But,
Now the good news
still
is
a
for
very
Heartline.
similar situation.
Yeah, Heartline is a guy that was at Ohio State, so he's been in a winning
For
program.
sure. I
Not
have no questions
no
about
diss,
Heartline.
no diss to Golish in Tennessee, no diss, but they were not Ohio State. Ohio State won a national championship.
No, for sure.
But like, he's gonna do well. He's gonna get played. The point is, like, I mean, I think,
It's just what your school is. Like,
yeah,
there's no reason for there to
even
be
like,
bad shape.
yeah, I mean, a perfect example of this. Even if you're mediocre in that level, think South Alabama. Kane Womack was a solid coach for South Alabama, and he didn't get plucked for a head coach job. A team just went and grabbed him as their defensive coordinator. Now he's defensive coordinator at Alabama. So even then, like, even if you're still in that middle of not quite good enough to get a bigger job, teams are still wanting you to be their coordinator. And for you, like, if you're not getting that nod up at the G5 level to be a head coach, the natural thing to do if you really want to be a head coach at the Power 5 level is to then go be a coordinator and prove it there. So it's just like, if Alex Mortensen has success at UAB to any degree, he's gonna be gone, especially because he was in the Saban system for years. So it's just like, I don't know why they're mad is the point. It's
Yeah,
just the
I don't get
nature
it.
of G5.
Now,
It's just how it is.
what I don't understand is why Heartline decided to just throw shade at Goalers. Like you have nothing to like that didn't
He's
concern him at
matching.
all.
He's matching the fans'
He
energy.
is.
He's
He is,
confident.
but
Look. To be fair, like, I do think Golish did slightly underperform last year. I thought USF should have ended up being the playoff, been the G5 playoff bid. Like, I
yeah.
thought the talent
Yeah.
was there.
They should
Like,
have.
so I think there was a little bit of underperformance. So I get what he's saying of like, yeah, we're not gonna do that, but like, hold your horses, pal. Hold your horses.
My problem is the way he said it. He said, like, oh, we had, I can't remember word for word, but it was somewhere along the lines of, we've had recent success here, but that's not what this program is.
Right, yeah, something like that.
You could
Recent success,
say
but like where he should be doing better or something like that.
that's what he should have said. What you just said is what he should have said. He didn't say that.
Yeah,
He said that's not
yeah,
what this program is. Saying that, yeah, they won some games, but this program is way better than that. But if you look in the history of it, Alex Golish has the second highest winning percentage in any USF head coach history. And the highest was,
Oh, here you go. I got it.
I think
I got it.
67% from a guy that was there for
Yeah.
like 9 years.
It's even worse than what we were saying. Stating in an interview that the team's recent success was, quote, nowhere near where it should be,
Yeah. And
end quote.
to me, that's just blasphemy. Because if you look at the history of USF, they've never been good.
It's bad. They were bad before.
I mean, I think Golish is the 5th head coach. And he was the 5th head coach in USF history. The entirety of the football program. I think Hartline's the 6th.
Yeah. No, they're a fairly new program, and they're on the up. I definitely think they are one of
No,
the
they are on
better
the up. Yeah.
suited yeah, they're one of the better suited programs in the American for NIL. I think their NIL infrastructure is fairly good for the conference, um, which definitely helps a lot in timing and everything, yada yada, whatever. Um, but
Yeah,
it,
it's just a crazy
he was
diss.
talking about them like they were a blue blood of G5 schools, essentially, um, which is just not true. I thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. I love the dig personally, because then I hope he goes in there. I hope he goes in there and wins 10 games this year, and then I hope Golish goes like 5-7, and then it's like, we upgraded. Screw you. That'd be hilarious. I want that to happen, but then again, I'm also biased against Auburn. So
It's okay. I have no comments to that. Um, Other than quarterback, who do we think is going to be the offensive player of the year? I mean, is it just that obvious?
yeah. So let's go to runner up.
Can
um.
we say anybody other than Jeremiah Smith?
Yeah. Runner
Um,
up. um.
I think if it's not Jeremiah Smith, it's Cam Coleman.
Nah, I go Malachi Tony. That dude's electric.
There is
It's
Malachi
what he can.
Tony.
I would
Um,
say mainly because Malachi Tony, what he Cam Coleman's more of a deep threat, probably the best deep threat guy in the nation. Just go up and get it, guy. Like impressive. Malachi Tony, how they use him, getting him out of the backfield and stuff, I think kind of makes him a little bit more electric in a way.
yeah, he is super young too. What that last year was his true freshman year?
Yeah,
Because I
yeah,
remember texting you about it. Like, dude, this dude's unreal to be a freshman.
yeah. He's nuts. He's nuts.
Yeah,
I don't. No way
yeah.
else.
I
No way
did
else
kind
to
of
describe it.
overlook Malachi Tony. They also have Mark Fletcher over there.
Yeah.
He's an extremely good running back. I'm super high on him. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of running backs and wide receivers. I think that are due.
I think Nate Frazier at Georgia's gonna have an incredible year.
My only thing with Nate
Um,
Frazier is that they're a
the
running
room
back
is deep.
room. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
room.
they're
He's
deep.
he's gonna have to share
Yeah.
those carries. I think if there were to be a running back out of the SEC, it would be Kwan Lacey or Ahmad
Oh,
Hardy.
I see. Yeah.
Um,
Ahmad Hardy's gonna. I hope he has a good year.
I mean, I think he will.
Never. Yeah,
He was
I
extremely
know.
good last year.
Right.
Um, hmm. I'm trying to like. I don't want to go all the obvious guys. Hmm. But that's really
I
all
don't
I
know.
can think of.
Yeah, there's gonna be some surprises inevitably, but they're surprises. It's really hard to predict. I believe Oregon's got a really good wide receiver. Um, that could make it the jump. I can't remember who it is, but um, I don't know.
Oh, Mario Craver, I think is in the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Just his explosive ability, run after the catch ability, isn't impressive.
Mm, it's got to be one of the
Um,
guys that we've just said. So
yeah, yeah,
if
for
it's
sure.
anybody else, I would be pretty surprised.
Yeah, I would too.
Um, and then I guess defensive player of the year, best defender. That's a tough one for me because I don't want to give another biased
Leonard Moore at Notre Dame is poised to have a really good year at corner. Colin Simmons coming off the edge at Texas. Dylan Stewart on the D line.
answer. I think Dylan Stewart
Um,
would be in that
Alabama, Yanze
conversation.
Pierre. Yanze Pierre's poised to probably have a double-digit sack year. Xavier Brown is right there up there with Leonard Moore with being the best
Xavier
corner in college
Xavier
football.
Brown will be up there.
Um, trying to think.
Caleb Counts, heard he's pretty good. That
Who?
Caleb Counts, the Ohio State
Who is
safety.
that? He's in the NFL, man.
No. I'm talking about his brother, Caleb Counts. You hear
I have no idea who that is.
I'm just talking.
But Yeah, it's realistically, it's probably like Colin Simmons or
I
like a
think
Dylan
Dylan
Stewart
Stewart's in
or
there. I do think um, the Notre Dame kid is in there. I think ZB's in there. I think Xavier can be in the conversation. Should be in the conversation biasly. Hmm. I know I'm missing
um
somebody.
there was somebody I was thinking. I think his name is John Henry Daly. He's a transfer from Utah. He was really good last year on the defensive line. He was now at Michigan. He's probably gonna have a really good year. Um, all the guys. Oh, KJ Bolden at Georgia.
KJ Bolden. Yeah,
He's gonna be good. But
just looking through some of the names. Yeah, pretty much all of the guys we've already talked about. Okay. Hmm.
yes, I'm gonna biasly say Xavier Brown's gonna be Defensive Player of the Year. Um, I have no remorse saying it. Yeah.
Is there
Alabama's gonna have
any?
the Heisman. They're gonna have the Heisman. They're gonna have the best defensive player in college football. They're gonna have Coach of the Year. Um, they're gonna hoist the national championship trophy. Um, and Ryan Williams is gonna win the Biletnikoff.
Woo! That might be the craziest take of all of them.
If he can catch a football, that's all he's got to do is catch a football. Dadgum, he can do anything he wants with the football, but he's got to catch it first.
I think that that other wide receiver has a better chance.
Ladzier,
Yeah, I'm
fair
high
enough.
on Ladzier.
Eh.
I think he's the
Hey,
most talented wide receiver in the draft.
Ryan Williams. Nobody has worked harder than Ryan Williams this offseason. So if he doesn't put it together, it's not from a lack of trying. He has put everything into it. He has never left campus, not gone on any vacations. He's literally in the facility every single day. He's probably been the best leader on the team, according to everybody in there. If it doesn't come together, it wasn't a lack of trying. He has done everything right. He has no diva mentality. Um, Regardless, his ability to make plays with the ball in his hands, even if he struggles catching the football, you got to get him the football. You got to find a way to just get him the football off some screens or something.
Yeah, my question is, why not do like, I know this is NFL, like the San Francisco 49ers have done in the past. Put him in the backfield.
Yeah, put him in the backfield.
Put him in the running
Line him
back
up.
position. Let him be a receiving back. I'm not saying he has to play
Yeah.
running back. Let him be a receiving back. I don't want to see that because I think that would make excellent use of his talent. Because when Ryan Williams gets the football in his hands, he's insane. He finds a way to make plays.
Well, I think it'll really help. Ryan Williams will be because I do think Alabama's going to run a lot of RPO this year, and that's a lot of shorter, quicker passes, bubble screens, yada yada. That'll help him a lot
Let him be
because
Michael
that gives him
Thomas.
ability to catch the ball quick and get out there and make some moves. So I think Ryan Williams has a really good year this year, like relative to last year. A
I've
bounce
done a
back
lot
year,
of
and
hating.
Lord help if he can catch the football, watch out, because then he can do anything.
I've done a lot of hating, but Ryan Williams is arguably the second most talented wide receiver in all of college football.
Just pure like physical, natural abilities of running the football, yards after catch, like pure shiftiness, probably the best in college football. Jeremiah Smith, more of a bruiser kind of dude, bigger, stronger. overall better, but like Ryan Williams' shiftiness, holy crap, dude.
I'd probably agree. I'm not thinking of anybody right off the top of my head. But yeah, he's
But he's
definitely
got to put it together.
he does. He does. Man, I remember, which before I went to our school, I went to Clay. So I remember watching Clay versus Saraland, and that was the
Mhm.
first time like I had sat down and watched Ryan Williams live, like not seen like tape or highlights. Gosh, he was like ever since then I was like, dude, that kid is
He's
something.
I mean, he's been the guy ever since he was a kid.
Yeah. So
Uh,
I have no doubt in my mind about his talent, just if he's able to put it together and be good. I hope not, but we'll see.
Say, watch out. A lot of pressure taken off him this year compared to last year. Probably gonna be a more favorable system. He's worked harder than ever. His mind, mentally, he's in the best place he's been at. If there was ever a year, gonna be this year.
Did you see where his dad went on social media and said something about his NIL
I did
money?
not. Mm-mm.
His dad went in and was like, "You see how we went in one day, no agent, and he became the second highest paid player on the team." He was just running his mouth on Twitter. Quickly deleted the post and then made his account private, like within a matter of minutes. I can't remember
So,
what he said exactly.
Bama's PR team got on that real
Yeah, they
fast.
did. Let me see. Actually, but I seen it a few days ago. He said, "We took Bama to the bank with
But
no
yeah,
agent or representation. Want to know how we did that? First day on campus, second highest paid player on the roster."
bro had to be on some kind of substance or something, and he realized it. He was like, "Oh wait, no, let me take that
What's
down."
up with these like parents, dude?
But that doesn't even make sense. Like, it doesn't even like want to know how we did that, and then never answer the question.
Yeah,
Like, it
I
doesn't
don't.
even like make
Like I
sense.
said, he's just running his mouth. But that, whew, definitely a PR scare right there. Do we have any other points of conversation?
Hmm.
I guess we can talk about the oh so controversial FPI rankings.
I don't. It's a computer, and the computer's not wrong. Like, it takes account blue chip ratio, roster acquisition. Um, like, there's no bias built into it.
I
Like,
think the FPI rankings just straight up stupid in the first place.
it's because it doesn't rate like how good of a team you are, how your schedule looks,
Right.
like your coaching. It doesn't. It's straight talent profile.
It,
So
I watch a lot
it's
of I don't know how to say his last name. JD, I think it's Pikel, but I just call him JD
JD.
Pickle.
I think it's Piquel.
I think it might
I
be
think it's a
Pikel. But
might be the
he was
actual
going
name.
through. He was like, "Look at how dumb the FPI is," and he showed the end of last year's, like after everything was said and done,
Yeah, right.
and it was like, uh, Indiana number one, obviously, but then it had Ohio State two, and Miami was all the way down at like 10, and Notre Dame was top
Yeah.
five, and it's like,
It's
dude,
it's
nobody
it's it's
cares.
never it's never wrong, but it doesn't like actually mean anything. If you get what I mean.
That's
Like, it's never
why,
wrong, but it never means anything.
for reasons like that, that's why I don't think when they do, who deserves to get into the college football players, I don't think it should be based off computers. Because I know that idea has been
Yeah.
tossed around. Well, you see all of these
I think
people
yeah.
that want those computers when Florida State didn't get in that one year see
It
this and
should
they're
be
like, "Oh, this is so dumb. This is so bad." Yeah, we
yeah, it
know.
should be there should be mostly human element. And but those human elements do use tools that the computer can provide,
Yeah,
but there
there's
should be the human element of, hey, I saw Florida State play without their starting quarterback, and I saw Bama play beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. And let's be real, we all saw Bama was a better team over Florida State at that moment. So that's something that the computer can't figure out. So there's got to be the human element with the tools used by the computer, but um,
I'm not saying
it's
that
it's you know
there's there's no use for the computer at all, but to be completely reliant upon it makes no sense.
well yeah people well it's the whole reason why it exists is to create conversation, and people fall for it every year, and they comment on posts, oh, this is stupid. And ESPN's sitting there like, yeah, we agree. Thanks for the comment. Um, so, so
What I
it,
think
it, you know,
is funny is when people get up there and talk about like SEC bias or this, and to me, you look at the entire committee, and you got guys from the Big Ten, from the SEC, from the ACC, from Big 12. You got guys from all conferences, guys who have no bias whatsoever towards anybody. And it's like, no, brother, if this team deserves to be in, they're going to be in because the committee decided that. I mean, I'm not saying they're
yeah, I
always
can't
going to
remember the
be
last time.
perfect.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I saw like true SEC bias get shown like in the playoff rankings. Um,
I don't
like
know.
if SEC bias was real, Alabama would have been in the playoffs a couple years ago. Better strength of record, brother. Like every metric imaginable, Alabama was
Are you
ahead of
talking about
SMU.
2 years ago
Yeah, a
when,
couple years ago. The SMU got in.
yeah,
The first 12 team. Um,
yeah.
every metric Alabama was ahead,
That was the 9-3 year,
but
though, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But the playoff committee said, and I agree, said no, they win 9-3. But SEC bias exists. No, the computer could perfectly sided with SEC bias, and the committee could have just stuck to it, but they didn't. They didn't. But SEC bias is really exists. Look, I think everybody with half a brain can admit that the Big Ten holds the top of college football
Hmm.
right now, but everything past that, like the SEC, then is the deepest conference. Um, I think that's pretty obvious. I don't know why it's a conversation, truth be told. And I'm not a
It's just a
conference dude.
conversation.
I could care, yeah, I could care less personally. I'm more worried about Alabama. The whole SEC could suck if Alabama's good. I don't care. But it is a little annoying because the SEC top to bottom is the better conference. But whatever, it don't matter to me.
Uh, I'm trying to think of anything else. You got anything off top of your dome?
Hmm. Oh, I have a. Do you have any just like bold predictions for this year? So like one that I have. I don't think a single SEC coach gets fired this year. I think every SEC coach going into the season is there the next year, barring any kind of coach leaving for another job, which I also don't think happens. So I'll up it. I think every coach in the SEC this year is there next year.
I'm trying to think because there's a lot of new head coaches.
Mhm.
Kentucky's got a new head coach. Arkansas's got a new head coach. Auburn's got a new head coach.
But I think those guys are
Florida's got a new head
safe.
coach. What do you mean? Yeah, yeah, all the new ones are safe for now.
Well, maybe not Arkansas's. They don't really like him over there. I mean, he could actually be gone, but
I don't know
I don't think they would after year one.
because everybody bashed him, and then he got into the transfer portal and did pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, which they're probably going to be the worst team in the SEC this year. Um,
Yeah.
but he's not doing. He hasn't done anything terribly wrong yet. I'm not a big fan of
Yeah.
Ryan Silverfield and that hire, but for Arkansas, I think it could be a decent hire down the line.
Yeah. Give
Who
him time.
would be at risk of getting fired?
Jeff Lebby. Jeff Lebby. Um, was probably the
Isn't
most
this his
obvious
second year
answer.
though,
Third.
or third?
Yeah. So this is that third year. Like if he goes in like somehow has a stinker and wins 3 or 4 games, probably. I think
Probably
five
not.
he's safe. But I think they win 5 games, so I think he's good.
I think this is wrong. like I don't agree with it, but I think Heupel has the hottest seat in the SEC right now.
No, I think Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer, you've
Oh,
had Lenore
Shane
Sellers, Dylan
Beamer.
Stewart, and
Yeah, I
Nick
forgot about
Harper.
Shane Beamer.
And yeah, if you go 6-6, 5-7, dare I say this year, after the previous last year's disappointing season, patience is gonna be thin, dude.
Trying to think who else. Drink isn't going anywhere. They love him.
Yeah, it'd have to be somebody taking him.
Ooh, no, because they gave him a proper contract. I was gonna say they might replace. Um, dude, my head is just turning off. They might get a proper head coach at Ole Miss, but he did get signed
Oh
to a
yeah,
proper contract. So
he'd have to really suck, and I think the talent profile of that team, they're just not gonna suck bad enough for
no,
that to happen.
I don't think so either. I'd agree.
Yeah,
I would agree.
I think
I think
everybody's
it's
there.
highly unlikely. Somebody would really have to like impress in the G5 as a head coach
True.
for someone to miss out on
Take the
or
job.
quit the fire the coach. Bro, my brain is just shutting off right now. To fire any head coach in the SEC right now,
Yeah, yeah,
somebody would really have to stick out
definitely.
because
Somebody have to take a huge
everybody's
jump.
gone.
Yeah, everybody's on new contracts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even coaches that you would say are on the hot seat, Kalen DeBoer just got a new contract. And though his buyout didn't really go up at all, contrary to what popular belief, his buyout, if they fire him, only went up the 1 year they added on his contract. It didn't actually go up on a per year basis. Um, like he still got just a brand new contract. Um, Lane Kiffin, brand new contract. Will Stein, brand new contract. Alex Golesh, John Summerall, Ryan Silverfield. So all the guys that you would expect could get fired, they just got they just got a new contract or just got to where they're going.
Trying to think of anything else. I think I'm out of college football convo. Unless you have something.
Nah, I think that's about all I got.
Well, this was a really good episode. Talking about college football. You know that's why we're here. That's the whole main real reason for college for the podcast. Because we love college football. So I know we're both excited. Um, both been playing college football, the game, heavy. We're both itching for it to come back. Can't wait for a regular week in, week out schedule where I can look up stats and write down all the statistical things on all the websites and say why I think this team will
Can't
beat
wait
this
to
team and break things down. And
have my sheets of information and stuff printed out, ready to go.
And
Oh, that was so
hopefully,
fun,
you know,
dude.
in my new job, I'll have a lot more time to write things down and take notes
Yeah.
because I have a lot more free time. So that will be fun. Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate you for watching, listening, tuning in. If you did, if you didn't, that's okay too. You aren't around to hear me say it. We'll be back here in a couple weeks, I suppose, unless anything happens like the release of College Football 27 again. Um, but we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you in the next one, and peace.